Sound check. I should sound okay though. I should sound okay. Losing my voice a little bit. Yeah, yeah. All right, guys. Hola, hola, hola. Welcome to another episode of On the Block with Jen. I hope my video and audio is clear. Let me take care of a little business. I am going to talk about the main topic tonight, okay? So you're on the right show. What's up, No Saint? You're on the right show, okay? The main topic tonight is trick or treat. Do men hate on men who treat women better than they can? But I wanted to touch on this takeoff thing in the beginning because, this is what is trending and what's on everybody's mind. And I have a different spin for it, right? I have a different spin for it after I talk to you about what exactly is trending regarding Takeoff's murder, right? Or accidental murder. Some people are saying that it was, Quavo couldn't take a joke about fighting. Someone made a joke. The word on the streets is someone made a joke about fighting Quavo and Quavo not being in a fight, being able to fight. Then that turned into a verbal fisticuffs. Someone pulled a gun out, started shooting, and Takeoff got hit in the head and died instantly. They're saying that the person who possibly shot Takeoff was on his side, actually, and it was an accident. It may have been some friendly fire. That has not been confirmed, but that is what two witnesses at the scene are saying, two women to be exact, and one of them claims to have been standing right next to Takeoff. So if that's the case, it's even, it's 10 times worse if it was somebody that was on your team. But as you guys know, anyone, that grew up in our neighborhoods, everybody got guns. But, aim isn't their specialty. It has never been, right? Growing up the way a lot of us grew up, there were no, hey, let's go to the range. It was like, hey, who can I get a pistol from, right? It wasn't, we weren't running to the range after that. We were just packing. That's what happens. And it's generational, right? All these kids have guns, have no training, don't know how to handle a gun. I've even seen it in a lot of our urban movies. Like they don't even know how to handle guns on set. So supposedly, allegedly, that is what happened according to two witnesses. And as you know, social media is a far better resource for instant news because the detectives, they have to take those first 48 hours to investigate. Then the journalist and the news has to get it. But if any of these kids were at the scene of the crime, guess what? They're posting their videos, okay? And they're posting what they saw. The eyewitnesses are posting what they saw. And then we sift through it as the weeks and months go along and see what was true and what wasn't. But, these kids are way faster than the media and the detectives these days. That's why the detectives are asking people that were there to come on in and see if they can clear up exactly what happened. But word on the streets was that it was some friendly fire. It was over argument. Takeoff was not shooting dice. They were actually on their way to a strip club when the argument happened, and then shortly after the shootout happened. There's also a video circulating of Takeoff on the floor dead, similar to PNB, who was on the floor dying at that Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. So, it's becoming very common. Murder porn is becoming very common and everybody shares it. It's the social media is the World Wide West, I call it, right? Remember we used to say the Wild Wild West? It's like the internet is the World Wide West, and people get mad and they're like, I saw Gilly the Kid like spitting into his phone, yelling at people, talking about them, sharing the video of Takeoff death on the ground. People get mad. Hey, think about the families and the mamas and the aunties. I don't think, I keep saying it over and over again. I don't think people understand what these machines are. It's not the World Wide Web. It's the World Wide West. It is a free for all. There is no code here. There's no code here. People will use your children against you, your marriage, your family. There is no code. People will post pictures of your dead children, your dying husband. There is no code here. So I find it quite amusing when people get on these machines and start yelling and raving and ranting about what people shouldn't do here, because there is no code. And also, these rappers like Gilly the Kid and what have you, the people who are mad at this video circulating, although it's very, very morbid and it's horrible for the family, this is where we are. But these rappers who are complaining about this video circulating, they also get online and say horrible things about people with abandon. in, right? So they're very selective. They're very selective about what should and shouldn't be shared. But when you are in, in an environment where there's no code, there is no code, right? And then you can just complain about what people should be on code on, for whatever your preference is. But I'm sure Gilly the Kid and other people who are complaining about this video circulating, I'm sure they've done and said things that were off code as well, right? But people pick and choose what they're going to offend people with and what they're offended by, right? That's how it happens here. A lot of people online are saying, the saying from the movie, niggas die every day, B, right? So I'm asking, just another day in the hood or another day in hip hop? Also, I know it's exciting to say rapper such and such died, but these guys are not necessarily part, in my opinion, and some of my good friends who are hip hop icons, they don't think that rapper is synonymous with hip hop as in the culture, hip hop, the culture, right? I think these are homicides that happen and murders that happen where they normally happen. And then if the person happened to have a rap career or just being a rapper in the neighborhood, they attach rapper to the front of that death, which I find very, very interesting, right? Because, it's clickbait. It sounds better if you say rapper killed versus, young man, 28 years old, killed in an altercation at some bowling alley. It sounds better if you say rapper. So my condolences to Takeoff's family, his mother especially, who had to fly in to Houston to collect her son now, her lifeless son. Strength and peace to the family. But we also have to extend, I think, our condolences to all the people that were shot over the Halloween holiday in Chicago and in New York and in Detroit and in New Orleans, right? All these cities where this happens all the time, right? On Halloween in Chicago, there were about 14 people shot. The youngest was 3 years old. Then we have an 11-year-old that was shot and a 12-year-old that was shot in Chicago over Halloween. So this is something that is constantly happening. It's just that Takeoff just, he's the famous one of the bunch of people who were shot at this weekend. So, when I hear people say, another one, like how many more? I've even seen like famous, hip hop icons. Like I've seen Chuck D of Public Enemy say like, how many more, when Black youth get killed, like how many more does there have to be? And here's the spin I'm gonna put on it for you. There's gonna be many, many more. There's gonna be many, 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 many more. Takeoff is just the famous one for this week, and then before him it was PMB, and it's gonna keep going. PMB also had his death video floating around, but there's gonna be many more. So to answer the question in short, for people that are like, how many more? How many times is this gonna keep happening? How many more? From the famous people or the regular people that are walking on the block asking, when it excuse me, when is this gonna end? When is this gonna end? Well, it's never gonna end. It's never gonna end. Excuse me. So dímelo, Taino Night. So it's gonna keep happening. So here's a little spin that I wanted to put on it that we don't address, right? Kanye West went off very, very recently, and I'm not getting into Kanye West. I'm going into now a mindset in general that a lot of people have, that I've had, that we all have. Kanye West just recently was bashing the Jewish, right, community, or the powers that be, of guys that give you the contracts, give the rappers those contracts, right? And he very much made it sound like rappers were victims of these labels, right? Who don't pay them what they make, right? What the label heads make. And, these victims that sign these contracts that are unfair. I don't think that we are grasping or accepting that a lot of these artists are very complicit, very much participants of the murder and mayhem, the self-destruction, the death, the degeneracy that surrounds hip hop. They're very, very willing participants. So much so that some of the rappers have taken it upon themselves to also, broaden their horizons and put out TV shows that show this behavior, and put out more music, and put out documentaries. You know what I mean? Because they know that it's very, very lucrative. Now, one can say, well, if the whites or the Jewish are making money off of us, I might as well make money off of us too, which shows how simple it is to see a degenerate culture and know that there's profit there, and know that they can profit off of it. And when they're given power, they do the same exact thing, right? Because long as the underdog is complaining, like, look what they're doing to us. Why are they talking about, why are they loving hip hop? Why are they showing us looking like a bunch of animals? Look at this music, right? It's easy to say when you're the underdog. But if you notice, a lot of these rappers and people that are part of hip hop, when they get into power, they do the same exact thing that they complain about the white people and the Jewish man was doing to them. We spoke about Diddy before. Diddy is very well known. He's very infamous for giving janky contracts and destroying, a lot of artists that, cross his desk. 50 Cent has 3 number 1 shows in Black households right now. What are those shows about? He's also dropping Hip Hop Homicides on a Black network, all Black network, and also WeTV. So you have to look at it like everyone is complicit and everyone is participating once they get to that level. Some people told me, yeah, but Kanye back in 2016 was talking about, the Black rappers were contributing to the self-destruction. And I said, yeah. And then he also turned around and made beats for those same rappers that were rapping about drugs and mayhem and hoes and bitches and liquor and jewelry. He turned around and then made beats for those rappers. So you see where I'm getting at? It's like you can't be victim and villain at the same time. And I think that's what a lot of hip hop and rap artists do. They're victim and villain at the same time, right? And you can't be both. And that's why the community is in such a disarray and so ass backwards and so crazy, because the same people that are complaining about bad treatment are getting paid a lot of money to keep talking about the destruction of their own people, right? So to answer, well, how many more? It's going to be a lot more. It's going to be a lot more. I also think there's a denial about what country you're in. Every country has its thing, right? Every country has its thing. Some countries are, famous for oppressing women, right? Other countries are famous for being abundant in oil and diamonds. We are the bars and stars gun country. America is gun country. These people are never going to give up their guns. It's not going to happen. There's not going to be a president, a politician, a governor, the NRA, the anti-NRA, the Black Gun Owners Association. That it's never going to happen. Your country, America, is gun country. It is bars and stars and American flag and pickup trucks and guns. We like our guns and we like our liquor. That's it. That's America. So people are always going to die abundantly here of gun violence. So when people say, how many more rappers? Oh, it's going to be a lot more, to like a lot more, like, a slew. It's going to be a lot more. And it's going to be weekly. It's going to happen. I had an interesting conversation with a friend of mine. Thank you so much for the super chat, Afro Universe. Thank you. I had an interesting conversation with a friend of mine who said, Candace Owens was the discussion. He was telling me, he was like, oh, I can't listen to Candace Owens. I just can't bear her. She's so anti-Black. I can't listen to Candace Owens. And I found that quite curious, because I asked him, do you listen to rappers that talk about women like they're hot garbage? Do you? Oh, well, yeah. It depends, okay. Do you listen to rappers that talk about murdering other Black men, right? And we're all guilty of this. If the beat is popping, and we rocking with Jay and Ice Cube, and we all in, right? Do you listen to rappers who talk about killing other Black men? But yes, of course I do. And you listen to rappers talk about women like they're hot garbage, right? Well, yes, I do. And you listen to rappers getting jewelry, drinking liquor, and doing drugs. Molly Percocet, right? You listen to those rappers, right? Future be banging, right? The Molly Percocet, right? We listen to that, right? You listen to that, right? Well, yeah. And you know that they're promoting drugs, liquor, destruction, materialism, promiscuity, prostitution to your people, right? You know that they're using those, but they're not using white girls in the videos. They're using black and brown girls in the videos with the big fat asses. Those are the girls they're in the video. It's not Becky Sue and Susan, right? It's not blonde blood. It's women that look like us, the women that look like your sisters and your mother and your girlfriends and your wife. Those are the women, right? You listen to them, right? We've been listening to these rappers for decades talk about this, about the destruction of our own people. Yes. Okay. So how can someone fix their face and say they can't listen to Candace Owens? Waiting for an answer. How could you not listen to what Candace Owens says? So can we all just admit that we don't mind the destruction of our own people long as it has a nice rap beat to it? Can we just admit that? Can we just free ourselves? Can we free ourselves today from the shackles of acting like the destruction or hearing the destruction of our people really bothers us? Can we just free ourselves today? That can we accept and admit and stop being in denial that we enjoy it long as there's a nice beat to it? Can we just admit that so we don't look stupid when we say I just can't listen to Candace Owens. She's so anti-black. I can't. And Candace Owens is just too much. She is so against us, and she supports white supremacy. I cannot listen. I can't bear to listen to Candace Owens. Right? Can we just admit? Can we just admit that? And here's the irony. Here is the irony. Candace Owens have never, ever told a black woman to prostitute herself, has never told a black man to go kill another black man. Ever. She's never talked about what guns you should use to make a man's brain pop out of the side of his head. She's never talked about the new liquor that's out, right? That's white owned, that you should be chugging in a club. She's never done that. She's never promoted Versace and Louis Vuitton and Prada and Hermes, right? She's never promoted these French, Italian, and white designers. She's never promoted Ralph Lauren. It ain't Ralph though. She's never promoted these, white people so you can fatten their pockets because you feel good in the Versace and the Louis and the Prada. She's never done that. Yet you can tell me that you can listen to rappers who do all of that. You can stomach all of that. You can dance to all of that. You can buy albums saying all of that. But Candace Owens tells you, get off your lazy ass. Stop being a degenerate. And you just can't. Oh, shit. I can't. Oh, my God. It's just too much for my ears. I can't. She's so anti-black. She's anti-us. Candace Owens is anti-us. Can't you hear it? Can't you hear she working for the man? And let me be clear for all the people that are like, yeah, the Jewish people give them fucking bad contracts to the rappers. Those rappers volunteer to be rappers. Okay? It is not some calling that it's like, oh, I'm born. Oh, look at the baby. The baby's born and grows up. My calling is to be a rapper, to talk about death and drugs and jewelry and destruction and prostitution and our women. That's my calling. It's not a fucking calling. It's a fucking hustle. And it's a lucrative hustle. And these motherfuckers that go on and volunteer to put their name on that contract, knowing that it's going to be an unfair contract, because rappers have been talking about how horrible those contracts are, including the rappers that were signed to Diddy, right? They've been talking about how unfair those contracts are for decades. Not weeks, not months, Not just when Kanye said it, for decades. But they got to get that Bentley. So where do I sign, Mr. Greenberg? Where do I sign, Mr. Burtonthal? Where do I sign? Where do I sign? Here? And how much is my advance? Because I gotta kind of told the guy at the Mercedes-Benz dealership that I'll be back tomorrow. So I signed right here. And I just gotta drop 3 albums. Well, all right. Yes. And see, little big, street code. Right? These people are being treated so unfairly. Right? This is what they do. Right? Could have been an engineer, doctor, lawyer, garbage man, post office worker, mailman, plumber, electrician, rocket scientist, brain surgeon. I don't know, pick a shoemaker. Give me something. Give me something. Give me something. A tailor, could have been a tailor, could have been a hairdresser, could have been, give me something. Give me something. A mechanic, wood shop work. Give me something. Give me something. There's so many careers that they can pick, but they want to be rappers. They want to be rappers. So you cannot be a victim and a villain at the same time. You just can't. You just can't. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. So are we in denial about what this hip hop culture has turned into? Because we are far cry from the back in the Big Daddy Kane and KRS-One. That we're far cry from that, people. It has evolved. It has evolved. We got hip hop beats and Doritos commercials now. You know what I mean? We got people are ice skating to it. It has evolved. It has evolved. Now a rapper is getting killed, once or twice a month. Right? And when the arguments happen online, it's like, yeah, but you gotta blame the labels because the labels are funding the music. You gotta blame the label because the labels are funding it. Who's funding it? Go to the top. Ask for the boss. Who's funding it? They're funding the music that the rappers are writing. Correct. The same way any Black label owner or any Black streaming, because now Black men are starting to have streaming networks. There's Zeus and there's a bunch of streaming networks out now. Who's funding those ratchet shows on Black networks? Who's putting them into production? Who's doing that? So now, is it that these people who are now coming to power, is it that they're like, fuck it, if white people gonna make money off this discussion, I'm gonna get in there too? Are they doing the if you can't beat them, join them thing? So then they are complicit. Yeah, then they are complicit. Right? And then we have conspiracy theories. The label wanted him dead. That's right. The label wanted to take off dead. It's a conspiracy. Like, I've never seen a drug destroy brain matter as quickly and as thoroughly as social media. That's deep. Listen to what I said. I have never, ever seen a drug like social media. I mean, I haven't even seen crack do this to crackheads. I knew a couple crackheads back home. A lot of them had a lot to say. A lot of them were wise. They just got caught up. But this social media drug is something else entirely. Something else entirely. You just sit back and observe. It's like sometimes I go to parties and I don't drink because I like observing people and how they act and how they go from sober to tipsy to drunk. Now watch them, right? It's an acting thing I do. So sometimes you sit back and you watch people on social media, and I've never seen a drug like this. This is unprecedented. This is phenomenal. This is a phenomenon. So now every time somebody gets murdered, the new thing is, well, the labels wanted them dead because they were more dead than alive. All respects to Tupac. I mean, I'm sorry, to Migos and Takeoff, but he wasn't Tupac. He wasn't Elvis. I don't think that a dead Takeoff was more beneficial to the label than a Takeoff who was very much alive and could do shows and can continue putting out music. I could be wrong. But I think a Takeoff that was alive was more beneficial to the label than a dead Takeoff. Right? But now every time a rapper gets killed and the label want him dead. So what about the two other people that I got shot in that same altercation? Because there was two other people shot in that party that Takeoff was leaving with Quavo. There's two other people shot. What of the 3-year-old? What of the 11-year-old? What of the 12-year-old? Like, where's the conspiracy there? Like, who wanted them? Were they going to make money off the label? Give me 1 second, guys. And I'm back. So how silly have we gotten? How silly have we gotten that we don't see what the fuck is right in front of us? And that's why I call social media a drug, because it is dumbing so many people down to the point of infancy. Like, it is dumbing people down. And then they all parrot each other. It's amazing to observe when you scroll, right? People I thought were smarter, people I thought were more intuitive, people I thought that were wiser, people I thought who can comprehend plain English. And it is the same statements verbatim from all sorts of people from all walks of life. Well, you know, the label wanted him dead. It's conspiracy. Label wanted him dead. That's why he did. This is very suspicious that he's dead. The label wanted him dead. 55-year-old grandma, the label wanted him dead. The label wants all those people dead. The guy you knew from high school, yo, the label wanted him dead, man. That's it. The chick you worked with one time, the label, it's the label. The label wanted him dead. That's what happened. The label wanted him dead. Like parrots. Like when you walk into a pet shop and the parakeets are all chirping and they all sound the same. You couldn't point to the parakeet that's doing what noise because they all sound the same. So what exactly are we talking about here? Like, are we not accepting the country that we live in? Are we not accepting that guns are never going anywhere? Are we not accepting that rappers are very, very complicit and willing participants of this horrible genre of music? Hip hop used to be the shit. And I know what some of you are going to say, but what about J. Cole? Like, J. Cole is still, what about Kendrick? What about Kendrick Lamar? Like, they're still cool. Now, wait a minute. Not all of hip hop. What about Kendrick and J. Cole? When was the last time? And by the way, I love those two guys. When was the last time you saw Kendrick Lamar or J. Cole? And you guys could correct me if I'm wrong. Pushing Pepsi or pushing a major brand or pushing a major label. I'm talking about major. Like, who is getting these deals? When I look at someone like Cardi B, who currently, because a lot of people say, but she can't get, she came from the, she the underdog, she came from the ground up and she changed. Cardi B is still ass out talking about fucking sucking, getting money. I used to be a girl and now that's $7. Meg the Stallion, same thing. Right? And these are the people that are getting the major brand deals. They are not promoted like the J. Cole and the Kendrick Lamar. They're not going to be promoted like that. You're not going to see Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole on the covers of magazines all over the place, pushing Pepsi and Doritos. You're not going to see it. So it's like these two people, the rappers that people try to act like are victims of these contracts, are literally in bed with the labels, like in the bed. Like they are the epitome of that phrase. You are literally in the bed. You're taking the calls when the label calls. You're taking that advance. You're taking the shows that you're being booked for. You're volunteering. And then I had someone tell me, say, well, you know, rappers do that because they were trying to find their way out of poverty. That's why they want to be rappers, because they're trying to find their way out of poverty. That's why they signed a contract. Okay. So the rappers that are running around with $200,000 diamond necklaces on their neck, pulling up in the Bentley so you can see them, or the Rolls Royce. Those guys are they sign out of poverty. Those guys are still representative of, oh, look at me, I got out of poverty. Like, where is the secret that these labels have janky contracts? And I cannot scroll or check my DMs without at least 10 motherfuckers in there trying to be rappers. Who could be anything. Who could be anything in the world. Truly, if they live in this country, they really can be anything if they want it. And I mean literally anything, like anything, if they want it. They can literally be anything if they want it. If they want it. Literally. But they want to be rappers, right? And rappers get janky contracts by the Jewish people. You know, people are saying this has nothing to do with hip hop. This has nothing to do, you know, with the hood. This could have happened anywhere. And you're absolutely right. Takeoff could have been killed even in the Sistine Chapel. Yeah, absolutely. He could have been killed in the sightseeing at the Sistine Chapel if that crowd was with him. If that crowd was with him, he could have been killed. Anyway, that is correct. That is a great call. That is correct. There's some bad juju on hip hop. It's some bad juju on hip hop. And if you guys know, I'm an atheist, but I'm very, very, very adamant believer of energy. Okay. That shit you can touch and feel and taste. You can feel energy. We've all felt it. We've been sitting, religious or not, been sitting in a room. That bitch with the bad attitude walks in and your demeanor changes because you're like, here come that bitch. You can feel it. When someone's in a bad mood, you can feel it. You feel that motherfucker. You're like, oh, I hate being around this motherfucker. He's so fucking miserable. That energy shit is fucking real. That's how we throw on a hoodie. You know, when our boyfriends are not home, we throw on a hoodie because it's like this is my baby's hoodie. I want to be in his hoodie. Right? Or we marvel at that ring our mothers gave us. That's mom. Right? Energy is motherfucking real. If you wake up every morning and say, I am young, I am beautiful, I'm strong, no matter what the fuck happens today, I'm going to be all right. That is what's going to happen. That is the energy you're putting out there. Now, if you wake up and you tell your brain, I'm fucking miserable, I'm broke, I don't know what to do, I'm fat, I can't finish this workout, I know I'm going to eat all day fucking today, that is what you're going to get. Energy is real. That shit is not a myth. What you think, you say, you are, you become, right? It's real. It's very, very real. Affirmations are very, very real. That's why it's important we tell it to our children. So you mean to tell me that a genre of music that for decades on decades on decades and decades has been chanting to a beat, drugs, death, prostitution, murder, drugs, death, prostitution, murder, drugs, death, prostitution, murder, it's like fucking Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. Drugs, death, prostitution, murder, drugs, death, prostitution, murder. Now imagine if they were chanting that to white people. Imagine if all the rappers in the world, every time drugs, death, prostitution, murder, but they kept mentioning white people in the mix, all the white people in the world they would probably be dead by now. But who do they direct that to? Who is that energy going towards? When we are sitting in our cars, repeating these words, that's in our cipher, in our atmosphere. When we are in our homes, listening to this music, that's in our homes, on our walls, out of our speakers, in our ears, constantly. Now imagine being a creator of that music. We've all been in studios. When they're mixing it, they have to play that motherfucker 155 times plus. And everybody's sitting there vibing and chanting. Yeah, motherfucker, real bit motherfucker, pull a toolie out, smoke this shit, and we're gonna drink before we drive by. And that shit's playing over and over, and your pores are open, and your eyes are open, and your brain is open, and your soul is open. It's all fucking day. Kill that bitch, fuck that hoe, keep that, drink that liquor, fucking Versace, Louis, It's a fucking chant every single time you listen to it. Now imagine being a creator. I'm telling you, there's some bad juju on that music, and that is where we are. Now, a lot of people saying Takeoff, oh man's fucked up because Takeoff was the quiet one. He was the good guy. He wasn't even arguing. That wasn't Takeoff, man. Damn, not Takeoff. Like, fuck. Shit. He wasn't like that. Here's the thing. You cannot escape bad juju because you're not like that. If you're in that, you just can't. How many times have we seen people get killed in a crowd they weren't like? How many times? We know people personally who've been killed being in a crowd that they weren't like. People that go back to the hood and try to save the hood because they're no longer like that. And then they get murdered there. So yeah, you're going to feel a little worse because, Takeoff was the good guy. He was so quiet. He wasn't even arguing. But he was constantly surrounding himself in that circle. And that is what happens. I don't even think Tupac was the thug that he put down in the fucking studio. You know that. Tupac was a fucking ballet dancer and an actor and a model. We know who Tupac was before Death Row. It's documented. There are pictures. His mama was a Black Panther. We know the history. And how did he end up? So everybody's complicit. Everybody. If you're buying the records, if you're listening to it, and that beat will put you in a fucking trance. Have you ever heard Niggas in Paris? Have you ever heard that song? It's like you have to fucking drop everything to listen to that bitch. Dun, 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 dun. Blow so hard. You have to stop. That's power. That is power of your soul. That is power of your mood. One of my favorites of all times that gets me hyped to go through this fucking Real Nigga Roll Call with fucking Ice Cube and Little John. Y'all niggas get my niggas ho. Like it's like, yeah, I gotta conquer the world. I gotta get out there, go to this job I don't want to be at, and even this music, yeah, it's gonna everybody's complicit. So when you ask the question, how many more? Oh God, not again. How many more? What do we it's the Jewish people in those contracts. They're the ones feeding it into the community. They're funding it. Who's writing it? Who's performing it? Who's able to wear $200,000 on their neck because of it? Because they're creating it. Because, honey, we've gone way far out of I'm just getting out the hood. We've gone way beyond that. These motherfuckers are on jet planes now, okay? They're on private jets. They're pushing Rolls Royces. Rolls Royces. So we're a far cry from that. We just doing it to get out the hood, man. We just got to get out the hood. So are you complicit while you fix your face to write rest in peace, such and such? Insert rapper here. While you're fixing your fingers to type rest in peace and insert rapper name here. You can literally keep that template because it's going to be another one. So you might as well keep it. Like you should keep it in your drafts. Like keep rest in peace. And then like the blank, keep it in your drafts because it's going to happen again. And it's just this constant cycle. And social media is this hamster wheel cycle. That's why I make fun of it. The human hamster wheel. It's a cycle. Rapper makes the music. Label puts it out. Rapper gets killed. People type rest in peace. Then people protest for a little bit. Then the police commissioner gets on his podium and says, this must stop. We send our condolences to the family, and we will not continue having this in insert city here. This violence amongst our people, he was just 28 years old, in the city of, insert your city, guys, if you're from Detroit or New York or New Orleans or Chicago, just insert it, but your police commissioner will be saying, this cannot continue to happen to the youth in our city and the youth in our community. The Detroit, what city we in? Detroit. This is going to keep happening. This is America. This is America. Don't catch you sipping now, right? So people gonna argue online for a couple days, and just a couple days, because this isn't like, Takeoff was Migos is very famous rap group, but Takeoff wasn't exactly a superstar, so it's only gonna be a couple days. Usually it lasts longer if it was a better known rapper, but it'll be a couple days, and then it's gonna happen again, and then repeat, and then we'll have a police chief of whatever city. It's going to happen again. It may not happen in Houston, maybe New York, maybe, maybe Detroit, maybe. Just pick a city. Pick a city. Then we'll be fighting online about it. It's good. Label wants him dead. What the fuck are you talking about? Are you crazy? No, they shouldn't be sharing that death video. What about his mama? His mama gonna be hurt. What did the witnesses? I was there. No, I wasn't. Yes, she was. Whatever. Who is fuck? Where's his baby mama? Oh, his baby mama set him up. I know that bitch set him up. Keep running, keep running, keep running, keep running. The circle ain't going nowhere, but it's fun. Keep running, keep running, keep running, keep running. Oh, a new rapper dead. Keep running, keep running, keep running, keep running. Haran ain't here tonight. You guys know Haran. He wrote something that was so dope, and I told him that I would read it. But he's not here. He's doing his thing. He's working out, getting his health in order, which I love. I love hearing that y'all are healthy and in the gym and doing the damn thing. Or somebody said Atlanta. So I want to read this before I go on to our main topic, and I'm going to drop the link. You guys feel free to come up. Let me know what you're thinking, what you're feeling. I will run through the chat. I didn't say in the beginning, but you can reach me on the block with Jen at Gmail. If you want to send me a topic to dissect, or you want to collab with me, you can also reach me at on the block with Jen on TikTok. Follow me on the block with Jen on TikTok. On the block with Jen on Instagram. I put a lot of my gigs that I work there. I do my funny reels there. Okay. And if you want to support the show and you catch in a replay, Cash App is on the bottom on the block with Jen, or you can super chat me. But if you're not watching this live, Cash App is open 24 hours a day. So I'm going to read this post that I love by Haran. He is not here. He's doing his little workout thing. He has goals, he said, that he has to reach. So he's not going to be up as often as he should, but he sends us all the love in the world. I'm going to drop the link while I read this because I want to get into my topic, which is, do men hate on men who treat women better than they can? I have a theory, don't I always? Please feel free to come up if you want to discuss this. I'd like to hear what you're thinking. Let's see what we got here. Thank you so much, Sir Hill Speaks, for the super chat. He says, salute, Jen. Salute, sir. So Haran wrote, tell you, we are fucking shell-shocked with this social media shit, right? Every day we wake up, we're like, what's the bad news gonna be today? That's how we rolling now. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. It is crazy. Yeah, I love this thing that Haran wrote. And I say, you know what? I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave it there. I'm gonna leave it at that point. Because this is exactly what it is, y'all. So Haran writes, I'm gonna read it to you. It's short. It was a post he did. I think on his Facebook. I thought it was really good. He said, maybe you should watch the video of Takeoff's death. Maybe you should look with intent as his friends surround him in panic. Emmett Till's mother kept the casket open so the world could see what racism looked like, so they could feel bigotry heat the marrow in their bones. We demand whites face the atrocities of chattel slavery as we ambush them with images of slaves with torn flesh, missing limbs, and broken spirits. Maybe it's time we direct our tactics towards ourselves and take a stark look at what the culture has become: broken, lifeless, and bleeding profusely on the cold ground. Listeners, promoters, DJs, producers, and artists, how does it feel to be a part of a machine and a culture that promotes and profits from Black death. I thought that shit was so fucking gangster and so true. It is the best thing I've read regarding this entire thing. Okay. So, again, the last line: listeners, promoters, DJs, producers, and artists, how does it feel to be a part of a machine and culture that promotes and profits Black death? Bars. So I'm going to let my people up, see what you got to say before I get into the fluff. Usually the fluff comes before the topic, but I think this topic had to be, I just had to give my opinion on this topic, because I'm like, here we go again. Like, it's a form of insanity to keep doing the same shit over and over again, thinking you're going to get a different result. So when I see people, whether it's the mayor or when I see people get on these platforms and on their podiums and demand, how many more? This must stop. The violence must stop. You know, when I see people put on that performance, it's laughable now, where before you used to feel it with them, like, how many more? She's so right. How many more? He's so right. How many more times a mother's gonna grieve? How many times? Now it's laughable. It's theatrics. It's fucking Shakespeare. They're up there so they can get voted into some seat the following year. They have to, you know, show their face. And how many more? Right? So let me what's up, Big Truck? What's up, Just Notice?
Good evening.
Good evening. Anybody else is free to come up. Sean Ford, is your audio good? What's up, Just Notice? Yeah, your audio is never good, my guy. You can't listen to me in the background and be on the panel. You have to turn me off in the background. So if you just want to watch, that's cool. All right, guys, let's hear it before I get into the fluff. It's just interesting. It's very, very interesting.
Yeah, peace. Can you hear me on here without echo?
Clearly, I hear you clearly.
All right, cool. So yeah, I'm just taking I'm soaking this all in. All the events that has taken place within the past 24 hours. Actually, when I first heard of Takeoff's death, I actually was somebody put it on their stories on Instagram late last night. And then when I got up in the morning and I saw it, I thought, wow, like this really happened. I'm going to say this, and I know I don't want to get too much into conspiracy, but I find it to be very coincidental that the people that were involved, mostly with the two main rappers, right, Quavo and Takeoff, both of those individuals were actually backing Mr. West. Mr. West, I think maybe about a week or 2 weeks ago, when they first started stripping down Mr. West, and taking down his social media and also taking away his companies. I think right around the time when they took down the interview with Drink Champs, that's when Quavo and I'm not sure Takeoff was involved in that. I'll be lying if I said he was, but I remember Quavo offering Kanye his platform.
Uh-huh.
and said basically, we back you, bro, 100%. And
Mhm.
then fast forward, now we had those same individuals involved in something that cost someone else's life. Now, was that a message being sent to Mr. West? I'm not sure, but I just find it to be highly coincidental, especially with the music industry and how it's ran. They basically tell you how dirty it is in movies like, I mean, not movies, actually television series like Empire.
Mhm.
There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes.
Mhm.
It was an industry event supposedly that this happened at, which is I find it very odd that these things happen at those type of events because there's usually a plethora of security, including undercover police.
Mhm.
So I just find all these circumstances very odd, and I don't believe in coincidence.
Okay. So, um, so with that logic, we should be expecting the deaths of Antonio Brown and Kyrie Irving too, right? Because they were publicly supporting Kanye West. So should we be expecting them to die as well, like in car accidents or food poisoning or whatever?
Well, with AB, he's off his rocker. So what happens to him, I wouldn't find it to be so much of a coincidence. And who was the other person you named? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Kyrie Irving.
Kyrie. Okay, Kyrie has never publicly backed Kanye West. His battle, whatever his battle is, it has to do specifically with Kyrie. Now, people are putting the two together because they're similar situations, but Kyrie is not on the same uh, frequency as Mr. West is.
You sure?
But
Because
I just
recently posted him and was praising him for the support before Kanye's Instagram got taken down.
okay. Maybe
So
maybe there is something there.
so what I'm
I
trying to
wasn't aware of that.
okay, so what I'm trying to get at, and none of us are detectives here, right? The detectives do what the detectives do, right? We're not detectives, so I can't tell you exactly what happened. Plus, I wasn't a witness. But what they're saying is that someone, they were about to go to a strip joint, and someone in the crowd made fun of Quavo, his boxing videos that he puts out, right? Because these guys are pretty small and slim, so when they put out any kind of physical activity on social media, they usually get dragged because social media is very harsh, right? So somebody was making fun. The word on the streets is somebody was making fun of Quavo. Quavo didn't like the joke and started arguing with him. Then a fight broke out. Somebody pulled out a gun and started shooting. It just doesn't sound to me like conspiracy theory. It sounds like a bunch of idiots at a party, liquor flowing um, in people that have guns. It's happened many, many, many times. It happens every single weekend in all our inner cities. So we have to be careful that um, we're not diverting to some imaginary thing that's happening when we should be concentrating on why is this happening in our community and has always been happening. As far as it being an industry event, it was a party at a bowling alley. It wasn't the Grammys. Like it was literally just the party at a bowling alley. So we just have to be mindful of not constantly feeding this conspiracy theory thing because it takes the attention away from these kids are killing each other in our neighborhoods, and they always have. When I was 16 years old, this was happening. I was going to a funeral every month. Friends that I was just talking to yesterday were dead the next day, and they weren't rappers, and there weren't no Jewish ogres that signed them to contracts that would benefit from them after their death. So you're allowed your opinion. It's your opinion, and thank you for sharing it. But we just have to be careful that we look at a thing and make sure we know what it is, and not just like, oh well, you know, Facebook said they wanted, the label wanted him dead because he was supporting Kanye. Because then why is PMB dead, and why is XXX Tentacion dead, and why is King Von dead? And you know what I mean? So I think
Yeah, I'm not.
the list of, I think they're just part of the list of homicides, and they just happen to be kids that rapped. Pop Smoke is also dead. So it's like they're just, this is what happens in that environment, and in the what the hip hop culture evolved to. That's what it is. That's why I was saying earlier, it's powerful. Like the constant chanting and making of music that's degenerative affects us all, but we've all been complicit. So I want to pass the mic, but definitely thank you for that opinion. I want to welcome out World Kings and Sir Hill Speaks. All right, Big Truck, what you got?
Well, me personally, I'm trying to figure out how long is it going to be until these dudes understand that when they leave the hood, they should stay out of it. You know, you're here. You are. You got $1 million or whatever it is, or however much money it is, and you're gonna die shooting dice with somebody in a freaking a bowling alley. I mean, that's just stupid. You know. And the sad thing is, that's how these dudes go out, and that's just what it is. And my thing is, I saw the video, and they're trying to get these videos taken down, but once it's on the internet, you ain't getting it down. So a lot, you know, it's so crazy because you keep seeing this happen. It was like it's 1 week it's there, and I said that the last time you had talked about this. Mm-hmm. 1 week it's this one, it's Young Dolph this week. The next Dolph, it's Nipsey Hussle, and then other than. So my thing is, it's like, I would have thought by now that these dudes would be smarter than that, but the problem is they're really not. They're young, they're arrogant, and for the most part, they're getting themselves knocked off. So I really wanted to respond to the question that you posed for the video itself, for this video, but I guess you're still talking about this, so I can always wait.
Yeah, I'll pass the mic on this subject, and then we'll jump into that. But I agree with you 100%. I mean, you're talking about young, dumb, full of cum with a big bank account. You'll never get no one. My 20s, nobody was going to tell me shit about shit. Now it's different.
Yeah, I know. It's really sad because you think about it. You got all this money, and you're going to die. You got one person just die. He's wearing, like, when they go to the hood, advertise, like, it's like they got to be the loudest person there. And it's like the dudes, even when they do, it's like they got to show everybody, oh, yeah, well, I got all this, and that. And we're in the worst recession in like the American history, and you're out here dressed like food. You wearing a big ass chain, whether you know all this jewelry and shit, and you don't think that one of these dudes who's just a straight up thief, robber, or mug or whatever, you don't think these dudes are gonna make a try for you? And you're walking around, you got no security. Because when I saw that video, I didn't see nobody shooting back. I didn't see nobody trying to stop nothing. I saw everybody run. So my thing is, you walking around, you got no security. You're putting yourself in very high-risk situations. So my thing is, it's like, listen, I'd rather be a high-voltage maintenance man than to be a damn hood rapper.
Okay. Joanna?
Yes, ma'am. Hello.
How are you, lady? Talk to us, please.
Yes, ma'am. Just to get to it, I understand to the first speaker. I understand the desire. The desire is so strong to make this a conspiracy. I understand it because this is just it's sad. It's tragic. It's embarrassing. It's so many different things. So I get it. I get the need to, and the desire to make this a conspiracy. And for you, Jen, I understand and get the desire to make this about rap culture. I get it because that's something that we can point to. These things are something we can point to outside of what we're looking at, instead of at the energy within. Within what, Joanna? Within the culture. And this is my premise, my proposition to all the listeners and the panelists in the chat, that the issue is with Black people. Now, Jen, do you have your some, not all sign?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Because I don't want people coming for me. I mean, you can come for me, you ain't gonna find me, but some, not all. But this is Black culture, and as Jen said, this has been going on since she was a teenager, and I'm older than Jen. This has been going on since I was a teenager, and I remember when my mom talked about, killings on the street. So this has been going on since my mom was a teenager, and I remember my uncles and grandfathers talking about what my grandfather witnessed and did 80 years ago. So this was going on before rap culture. This is Black degenerate culture. And I'll leave it at that.
Juwan coming out the big guns. Brother Ish, welcome. How are you? Are you with us?
I'm good. How you doing? Pardon me. I didn't hit the mute button fast enough. I wasn't quick on the draw.
Yeah, in now.
Is it better now? Am I good?
Yeah, perfect. Perfect.
Okay. We always, throw the stone at degenerate Black culture, but degeneracy has its origin. And we have to look at, as we, like in the comic book, you have the origin story. How do we get here? Mm-hmm. And we know that, the frivolity of youth is one aspect of it. We know that the trappings of and the lures of pseudo riches and success is a factor. And the predominance of ignorance in the Black community is a factor. And with all that being, that's the recipe of disaster. This goes, like Joanna said, it can date far back to, the early 40s, 50s, the roaring 20s. You can find some sort of degenerative behavior, but, it has its sourcing, again, as I state. And I think that, we always blame, degeneracy in the Black community, but the Black community wasn't always degenerate. And there's aspects of it that's being facilitated. There's aspects of it that's being perpetuated. And we just have to look at its source. That's all I'm bringing up. In hip hop culture, yes, it dates back to Scott LaRock and his death, and that being one of the earliest murders that took place in hip hop and impactful. So, this is a byproduct of what's going on in our community. It's a byproduct of our own ignorance. It's a byproduct of the defects that would exist within our culture. But we always have to consider the source.
Thank you for that, Brother Ish. You know me, I always have to push back on the, what came first, the chicken or the egg? The motherfucking chicken is here. Okay. So it's like these kids, they don't know anything about what happened to Scott LaRock, right? They don't even know who Scott LaRock is. We know. But the same way you say we can't blame X, Y, and Z, we can't keep blaming something that happened 400 or 500 years ago, or that's going to be the excuse forever. And if that's going to be the excuse forever because it's genetic and it's in our DNA that we were slaves and less than and oppressed, then we have to admit we are the enemy that we speak of. Not the white man, not the Jewish. Then we have to come to terms with, I am a fucking degenerate. It is in my bones. It is in my veins. I'm going to, have this gun. I'm going to kill people. I'm going to do drugs. I'm going to strip. I'm going to sell pussy. We have to accept that that is who we are as a people and drop the Kangs and Quains, nicknames and the black face. Then we would have to drop all of that and fucking admit that we are a degenerate society and a degenerate culture, and we have to stop blaming other people if that is what it's going to be. But we cannot keep continuing to blame our wicked stepdaddy, which is what we're considering white people or the Jewish or the people that enslaved us, you know, people that enslaved us. Like, it was my stepdaddy's fault that I went on and slapped this bitch in the face, and my stepdaddy didn't molest me and slap me in the mouth, I wouldn't be out here selling pussy right now. We can't, you know, do that. And let me be clear. We're talking about a culture and a society that a lot of us come from, but let me be clear. There is Black excellence out there. There is Latin excellence out there, and they don't even know what the fuck a takeoff is. They are excelling. They are lawyers, doctors, business owners, entrepreneurs, billionaires, millionaires, okay? Beautiful, strong, healthy people that have absolutely nothing with the culture that we are talking about, which is more proof that it is a choice. It is a choice. But we cannot choose to be degenerates and then blame the wicked stepdaddy. We cannot do that. It sounds insane. It sounds insane when people of your own color, hair texture, height, weight, race are excelling in the same country. It's not that. It's not
Speak it, Jen.
It's not like they're excelling in planet excellence. They are literally excelling as your neighbor on the same
right now,
Cardi B
in real time.
Okay, on the same block that Cardi B grew up on, which is not far from the blocks that I grew up on. Why wasn't I on a pole? Why wasn't I setting up my Johns and drugging them and robbing them? We're from the same neighborhood after all. If that's all it takes for us to be degenerates is growing up in the Bronx, then why am I not selling ass? So we have to stop doing that. A thing is a fucking thing, like Iyanla Vanzant used to say. But we can't choose to be degenerates and be like, well, we have to look at the origin and the source, you know, when we were enslaved and the Jim Crow era. And, you know, they put in our brains that we're less than and we ain't shit and we're a bunch of niggers. And that's why we're out here killing each other. These kids have millions of dollars, access to the globe. Rihanna traveled the globe, became a billionaire. She came back all the way to Harlem and married not even married, but got knocked out by an A$AP Rocky. That was a choice. That was a choice. Access to the best men on the planet. No, I'm going to go back and get me that A$AP Rocky. It's a choice. So it's like, are we kangs and queens? Do we have power? Are we the strongest people on the planet, physically, mentally, and emotionally? Can we take a beating and come back? Can we take a beating and come back? Do white people wish they were us? All that shit talking. But as soon as a 20-something-year-old kills another Black 20-something-year-old, well, you know, it's because we were oppressed and we were slaves. You can't help it. We can't help but kill each other because look at what they did to us. Which is it? You can't be both. You can't be royalty and a poem at the same time.
Jen, can I get 30 seconds?
Yes, and then I'm going to pass the mic to World Kings because I know World Kings and Sir Hill.
I'm so grateful that you said that. In real time, the same things are existing. Excellence and degeneracy. In my family, I have 3 millionaires. One is right now, can you still hear me? Because I'm having some sound issues.
Yeah.
One is an NBA player for the Warriors. He's up there with Steph Curry. One is in real estate. And one just worked her way up through a random company. In the same family, same mother, same father. My mother's mother had 17 children in all, but 2 different marriages. Same family. Got an uncle in prison who's been there for 40 years. Have a cousin who committed murder. Had 2 or 3 crackhead aunties. Have other Gen Xers are in business and running their own thing. Exactly. So how do you explain this? It's a choice. And I said, I promise you 30 seconds and I'm going to leave it there but I want you to know I'm with you, Jen, on that point. I am so freaking with you. Oh my gosh.
Thank you, Joanna. And please excuse my passion. This is how I talk. I know people be like, hey, yeah, this how I talk. Y'all will be all right. Thank you for the super chat, Don Levon. Don Levon says, last week, we should go back to the hood and help others once we made it out the hood. The hood. There he go. Kill that nigga. Shaking my head. That is very, very true. Very, very true. Okay. Sir Hale said, great conversation, Jen. First time here and have to drop, but appreciate your perspective. Thank you, Sir Hale. World Kings, what say you, sir?
What's the deal, y'all?
What's the deal? We could hear you fine.
Okay, bet. Yeah, my heart just goes out to his family and everything. It's a sad situation. But the reality of it is they're saying it was a dice game involved. Now, I've been in dice games where fights break out and you're losing money and people is getting mad and you start talking shit. Somebody else start talking shit. And I can very well see how that situation played out. It wasn't in no hood. It was a private party for one. And we know how these private parties go. So it had to be somebody that knew somebody that knew somebody that knew you, that you were cool with to be more comfortable around. Because we know if I throw a private party, it's only going to be me and my guys, maybe some guys that my guys is cool with. Other than that, the females can come in. So this was something that it was like, and it was a bad situation because I heard you briefly, I was in and out, but I heard you saying that he wasn't as popular. This dude was very popular. The Migos, and like as far as the past 10 years, they're probably the biggest rap group that has been out. Like these dudes are huge. And in fact, he just came out, they actually broke up as a group. Him and Quavo came out with an album, a #1 album just recently. So this dude just had a #1 album, and here it is. And the funny part is what you were saying is correct. And sometimes it happens by humbug. These things happen when you're in the wrong place. That dude he was so laid back and cool. He never was on no rah-rah type stuff. He was always the quiet, cool dude, cool cat. He was the quiet one out the group. He was always just laid back. And I think he got hit by a straight bullet or whatever.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. Also, it happened outside the party, though. They were already outside.
Yeah. So I'm like, and that's happened out here in Houston. I live in Houston. And so, yeah, it's just a sad thing to say, I believe that it's going to continue to happen, unfortunately. And at this point, I don't know what can be done in order to stop it because they weren't just in the hood nowhere. So it's not like he was in the hood.
Neither was Pop Smoke.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Because I heard somebody earlier saying, quit going back to the hood. Wherever you go, there you are.
That was me.
Yeah. They weren't in the hood. But neither was Pop Smoke. Wherever you go, there you are. So
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. When I said the hood isn't just a place. It's also a state of mind. So if you're going to hang around who you know are carrying fucking weapons all the time and on that bullshit, it's no different. It's a state of mind. That's what I kind of.
It's a state of mind. Bravo.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Wherever you go, there you are. So it doesn't matter where you are. And out here in Texas, everybody got guns, whether you're hood or not.
You know what? That's a good point.
They wear them on their hip in the grocery store.
Yeah. So the smart thing to do is have a fucking argument over that. That's the smart thing to do, right?
I mean, no. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to argue about what I don't want to argue about the particulars because I'm just saying like. I've been in those situations where you're shooting dice and really gambling is not supposed to be like that. Gambling is supposed to be a sport. You're supposed to be able to go ahead and roll dice. Me and my homies have rolled dice and I done lost money and I done won money. Whoever win, we go out. Hey, man, the drinks is on me. Hey, man, the food is on you.
Did you know that those dice games are illegal? Did you know that? Of course
they're illegal. Yeah.
Okay. So when you're doing illegal activity with dudes like this, there's no thought of the possibility of something going wrong.
Come on, Big Truck. Take it to
like
him.
I said, I've gambled. It's a sport to me and my friends. But like I said, I've seen these things happen. It's just like playing basketball. If you play
No,
basketball
it's
with
not like
somebody,
playing basketball.
Playing basketball
Basketball is
it
not
is.
illegal. Basketball
It's
is
a
not
sport.
illegal.
Bro,
It's still
why
a
do you
sport.
think these dice games are illegal? They're illegal for exactly this reason. Because
No,
you
they're
always
illegal
either
because
get somebody,
they can't
you,
tax you
you
on the money.
Oh
always
my
get,
goodness.
hold on, you always
Do
get
you see
somebody.
how he's defending degeneracy? Do you see
But
this,
that
Jen?
Who's defending degeneracy? I didn't say nothing about
It's
defending
illegal
degeneracy.
activity.
It
It's
doesn't
illegal.
matter. A lot of
Joanna,
shit's
it's okay.
illegal.
Joanna, it's okay. The reason these things are illegal is because this has happened before. It doesn't even matter black or white. This has happened numerous times before. You either get somebody who gets caught cheating, you get somebody who doesn't want to pay up, or you get somebody for whatever reason who decides to start shooting. This has happened before. As I said, I'm going to say it again. It's a state of mind. If you want to hang out with these dudes who you know ain't up to no good, and you want to do illegal activity, then chances are, you might take a bullet in the back. Sorry.
Okay. Now, what I was saying was, I don't know what moving forward. I don't know what we can do to stop these type of situations.
Stop
Is there
acting fucked up.
if there's anything that we can
Stop
do?
committing crimes.
You
Yeah,
see what I'm
stop doing
saying?
illegal shit.
So I wanted to say to World Kings, when I said he's not as popular, I meant regarding like conspiracy theories. I can't tell those three apart. The Migos, I can't, but that's not my generation. I'm not really into Migos like that.
Oh yeah.
I
I never even heard his name before
I only
until
like one of their songs.
I had to go look at I know about the Migos, but I had to
Yeah,
go,
but you guys are older though.
right. I had to go look and see which one.
Yeah,
it
you
was.
guys are older, but yeah, they're extremely popular.
Yeah.
But I
Like,
see what
you
you're
know,
saying though,
Cardi
as far as like
B,
conspiracies, as far as people aren't going to come up. But you see, somebody came at the beginning with one.
Yeah. I mean, it's all good. I mean, everybody, but that's why I made it a point during my opening that it's just people parroting what they hear. It's just, oh, it's a conspiracy. That's what it is. Now, if you notice, everyone that has died for the past, I'd say, during the pandemic, everyone that has died since then, somebody killed them. It was a setup. It was a conspiracy. It's never just fucking crime. It's like,
It's
it's a
bullshit.
coincidence because they just dropped the movie. The dude bought, you know what I mean, a fucking 8-ball, the fentanyl. That's why he's dead. No, it was a conspiracy. He was about to be in the movie talking about. It's always a conspiracy.
He was about to buy NBC.
Nipsey Hussle was a conspiracy.
He was about to change. He was about to change the hood for the good.
Yeah, from the cookie shop.
So no saying. You've been waiting very patiently. What say you, sir?
Hey, how you doing? How you doing tonight? Check out my new profile picture.
Paint. What does that mean? What happened to the Jesus?
It's a paint can.
So wait, are you coming out?
No. I don't know if Jen gets it yet or not, but it's just a little message she gave me a little earlier on Instagram.
Remember.
Do you remember? You said you don't know me from a paint can, so I was like, okay.
You don't. Okay, yeah, I did tell him that. You don't know me from a can of paint. Okay, I see you paint. All right, good.
Yeah. So anyway, listen, it's amazing how much sometimes I'll agree with Big Truck, and then a few minutes later I'm like, man, that's way off. So let me go with the way off first of all. I think the throwing dice. I mean, Jen, you're in Las Vegas. I'm in New Orleans. We have legalized gambling. There's legalized gambling all over. Throwing dice isn't exactly, how many people play poker illegally, gamble, and don't get shot? I mean, that happens all over America. So I don't think that really, I don't think it has to do with the other. But what I do agree with them on.
Hold on a second, no saying. If you are lurking, please hit that like and subscribe. I see more people watching and lurking than I see in my likes. Gracias.
What I do agree, I think I've heard this throughout my life, where you'll hear like so and so he left the hood and he didn't come back and help the community, or he came back and helped the community. He's a real guy or whatever. Dude, listen, I'm a white guy. I don't want to step out of bounds here, but I would imagine all these people getting killed, all these rappers getting killed, and it happens so many times that code needs to kind of go away. Because I've always said, listen, if Bill Gates lived next door to me and then became a billionaire, he's not coming back and helping nothing. And I'm the same way. I'm getting out of the neighborhood, especially.
He's not going to the park and getting the meth heads.
Yeah, if I make my way out, if I make my way out of this hood, which chances are I'm not, but I mean, if I were in a violent area where people are getting killed and I made it out, I don't think I'm going back. I mean, you're just taking chance, and then like you're saying, people are going back and flaunting it. There's a lot of jealousy, and I don't know. That's all I have to say pretty much on the subject, because I'm not as familiar as most of the panel. I have no idea who this, again, I'm just getting older, I guess, but I don't really know who this person is. I heard he died.
Man.
Condolences to his, to his family. I mean, it's a shame. It sounds like he was a good guy and everything, but to be hanging, like Big Truck said, to be hanging out, if you're going to hang out with your friends and everybody in Texas and everybody's carrying guns, then I don't know. You might want to have have them frisked and say, hey, leave all your guns in your car or whatever, because it just seems like it happens. It does seem like it happens a lot, but it happens a lot. Listen, this month in New Orleans, they're bragging, the police are bragging, and we had the lowest amount of murders this month, 16. I mean, come on. You can't, that's 16 people's lives destroyed, families destroyed. Like you were saying earlier, talking about New Orleans, I mean, we went up murders. It went up so much in the last 2 years. It's been ridiculous, but that's happening to people every day. And we're just hearing about this guy because he's, he's famous, but that's all.
Yeah. So I agree with Big Truck too. I also agree with some of the people in the chat that going back to the hood is also a mentality, and you don't have to be in South Bronx, New York to have an entourage of idiots from the South Bronx, New York. These people travel with you. They're part of the
Jen, well, let me just back that up. See, one of the biggest problems, especially with the quote unquote Black community, right? One of the biggest problems is that the Black community lives among the Black poor. When white people get money, they move as far away from poor white people as possible. Even when Hispanic people get money. I have friends. I got a Mexican friend right now. He's my best friend, and he's got a Colombian or some half Colombian or something wife or wifey or whatever, baby mama. But anyway, they refuse to live among like Hispanics. They want to move to the whitest fucking community they could possibly afford, which right now is none of them because the prices are so high in New York. So the issue with the Black community is, let's say you do make money. Let's say you buy your house. Let's say you own your house. You got to deal with these motherfuckers who are right outside. And the only option is for you to pack your shit up and leave. And if you do leave, now the issue is like, where are you going? Because as you know, segregation has been real. That's something I could never deny. We know that it's been real. Here in New York, as you know, it's like we had Jamaica and we had Levittown. They would not allow you to sell a house to a Black person coming to Levittown at all. It didn't matter what socioeconomic status. So all my problem is the hood seems to follow these dudes around. Now, when it comes to these gangster rappers, most of them are fucked over because they're dealing drugs even while they're trying to make this music because nobody's buying their music. And I said this before, most of these dudes have to do tours to make their money because nobody's buying their music. Albums ain't selling like that no more. So what ends up happening is you got these dudes with drug charges all the time. You got these dudes who are somebody's trying to rob them for drugs. You got these shootings and stuff. And this keeps on happening. And it's going to keep happening because these dudes don't know how to leave it behind. So when you see the successful rappers who actually somehow managed to survive and live past the age of 30, usually it's because they took their money and they ran and they never came back. And I'll just say the last thing. I was just having this conversation about this guy to my cousin. And I said, listen, if I hit multi-mega millions or something like that and I move out the hood, I'm not coming back at all. And I'm going to tell my mama, I'm going to be like, yeah, listen, mom, pack your shit. I'm buying you a new house out where I live. And if she starts that shit like, oh, honey, I don't want to move out there. I don't know nobody. I'll be like, hey, mom, how do you feel about somebody kidnapping your ass and trying to use you to get to me? And I tell her just like that. Or how do you feel about somebody trying to shoot up your house because they try to get money out of me? So these dudes just, they get trapped in this cycle and they never can move away from it. They just can't. So that's the only option. It's really the only option. Either that or you step up the policing in your community and hopefully you can lock up enough of these people. Yeah, they're going to call you a snitch, but at least you don't have to worry about little girls accidentally getting shot because you idiots are having a shootout and you just don't give a fuck what you hit. I would rather lock every last one of you motherfuckers up than for that to happen. And it has happened. And my thing is, I'm about prevention.
That's why I said in the same 72 hours, there was a 3-year-old shot, an 11-year-old shot, and a 12-year-old shot. Like, this is what happens, period, in the community. I do not believe this. I would need to see proof of this. Chocolate Earth Foundation says that's not true. Rich white people go back and buy up or create opportunity. And from where they from, when did that?
Yeah, that's no, Jen, that is true. It's just that they don't live there.
Okay.
You don't see any
white people go back for white people?
No, white people do go back and they do home improvement and hood improvement on their neighborhoods, but they refuse to live there. And when you say improvement, a lot of them do land investment, they do housing investment. Specifically, the Jews do that. What they'll do is they'll go buy up the houses and then they'll do Section 8 because they get subsidy capture from it. But they don't live there.
Okay. And the whites that do come to other neighborhoods to make it better or gentrify it, it's exactly that. They've wiped out the criminal element, to a certain degree, that the white people feel safe enough to gentrify the area. And I used to feel differently about this, but I've come around. But the best thing that could happen in a so-called black neighborhood is for a whole bunch of white people to come back into the neighborhood, and that will force blacks to strive to get their credit scores up to afford those homes and those properties. It would, if they want to stay in that area, it would, motivate them to do something better. In my humble opinion.
Wow. I absolutely disagree.
100% disagree.
I know many black communities where we're thriving and are thriving black communities that were being gentrified just for the sake of the opportunity that Caucasian people decided they no longer wanted to do the commuting. So, and people were self-motivated. They were self-motivated in relationship to, having their credit scores up or getting their children into college and all those dynamics. I grew up in a neighborhood like that. I grew up in Baldwin Hills. Baldwin Hills was considered the richest black community in the United States. Bottom line, everyone was self-motivated. It didn't take some white neighbor to turn around and stimulate and motivate other black people to do better. These were a collective community of upwardly mobile black people. So, I mean, and some of the children grew up in the hood and around different gang members, and some were influenced and some weren't. So, I mean, a lot of it's all very circumstantial. And also depends on, just the self-determination within that individual. Now, in relationship to your comment, Jen, and I didn't respond to, I wanted you to get your thought out. The aspect of when we say that we're all kings and queens, that's aspirational language. We have not achieved that level of growth yet, or that identity, but it's better to identify and have an aspirational idea of self than to turn around and continue to use the negative self-deprecating language of, not even self-deprecating, but self-defeatist language of calling ourselves, I'm a real nigga. Like, I think nigga is actually a disease more so than it is actually a cultural identity, in my opinion.
Okay, the only reason I don't like those nicknames is because they don't mean shit. That's right. No, there are people walking around, Cardi B without the riches, who are calling themselves queens. It's men on the corners calling themselves kings. That's why I say it doesn't make sense to me, but whatever, not my fight.
And Ish was right. There's not as many as there should be. But like he said, there's Baldwin Hills. You have black prosperous areas in the Maryland, DC, the DC, Maryland area. Also in Atlanta, you have majority black prosperous areas. Of course, there's not as much as there should be, but they do exist.
Right. And that's why I said in my opening that this is not the entire, community, but this is
This is why we say some, not all. I
Right.
hope everyone understands that we're speaking in generalities here. If we have to continue to say some, not all, it's just redundant.
that's
And if
why
your feelings are so sensitive that you cannot grasp a conversation that we're having about a problem, this is a problem. It may not be a problem for those areas that you're speaking of. As I've said, I have millionaires in my family, but yet it's still a problem, gentlemen. This is still a
That's what
problem.
I just said.
Let's talk about it.
That there's not as much as there should be, but they do exist. So
So let's just talk about it without having to constantly say some, not all. We all know that. I've never been to prison. Okay, we know that. We know not all black people. Big Truck is a business owner. We know this. We know it's not all black people, but we still have to have the conversation. You don't have to point out every outlier.
Okay, so I want to pass the mic to Dame from Can I Get Some Podcast. How are you, sir?
What's up? What's up? Now, Cameron, I'm traveling, and so the internet is like all over the place. So I look kind of crazy, so that's why I didn't come up this time.
You're not looking cute.
No, I think that what I look. I always look good, but it's just the internet itself is looking kind of funny.
Damien was in the chat talking about drop the link again. I'm like, drop the link. That's the alpha shit. Drop the link.
Oh man, what's called this? I just want to address like something, and I think my boy World Kings can kind of feel me what I'm saying is. I think a lot of these people saying, "Oh my God, these people like make this money and they stay in the hood, they make themselves targets, they do this, they flaunt and all that kind of stuff." I think it's like what y'all fail to realize is like a lot of these cats don't have the money that you think they got. Even if they got a stack full of, like you see those cats with like stacks full of $100 a bill, some of that's fake. Some of that it's all like marketing and promotion. Some of that, they really aren't in the position a lot of times to actually just move out the hood. They got a video that's on YouTube or whatever, but some of them are still in the struggle. They're still living check to check to check. Or, maybe they have a little bit of money where they can kind of like, start the process of getting themselves into a better place. But all you can say, okay, you got a record, move out the hood. A lot of them ain't in that position. And as far as like going back, I just think it's like kind of fucked up. People is like saying once you make it out, you're supposed to just say fuck everybody behind you. Yeah, I get it. You don't want to go driving your Rolls Royce, flossing all your gold shit and all your ice. That can cause envy, but a lot of people go back to really try to uplift the people that they came with because they see that there's actually really good people where they came up. Like Nipsey Hussle, he went back and the person who killed him, the hood didn't kill him, somebody that knew him killed him. And like that's how it is, in most cases. I think they're trying to make it like, oh my God, if you go back to the hood, you're stupid and you this, that, and the other. I grew up in the hood. I grew up in the OC projects, and anybody from the Bay Area know how bad the OC projects was. I did what I had to do to get out of it, but I still went back. They had this organization. I went to talk to the youth in the schools. I still went and talk to them about how to dress, how to fill out a job application and stuff like that. So you got to go back to like pass that knowledge on to the next generation. And if one of those kids, I went to my old middle school, if one of those kids was like, hey, let's play some ball or something like that, I'd shoot some ball with them, what have you. And people could get anything where there's competition, there's ego, there's bravado, there's the potential for any type of like altercation. So it's not just, I think we're trying to just blame the victim for just doing what they do. I mean, I get it. If they're out there flossing and they're saying I got all this gold, what comes because it is the hood. But if you're just out there just living life, just doing what you're doing, like he was in a city that wasn't his with people I'm sure he trusted, and shit just went down, and that's all it was. It wasn't like oh my God, it wasn't a PNB Rock situation when cats rolled by, saw him and like lit him up. It was two men, egos got involved, and he ended up dead. And that can happen in any place, anywhere. Basketball, for work, people shoot each other at work because egos get involved. That's just the way it went down. I don't want to make it seem like, oh my God, if these impoverished communities are just breeding grounds for all this negative shit. But it's just like it's I think it's just you kind of putting a bad name on poor people right now, and I don't like the fact that people shitting on poor people.
Dave, can I jump in and say that I
hold on, brothers. So I'm just gonna push back a little bit. I don't think that's what's being said. I don't think we use the word poor at all. I use degenerates, right? Because I grew up in the poor communities, and everybody in the poor community is not a degenerate. That's not what we're saying. That's not what I'm saying, at least. And regarding Nipsey, I gotta say the hood is what killed him. So when you said the hood didn't kill him, it was somebody that knew him. It was somebody from that old neighborhood that was born and raised in that hood, from that hood. I like the phrase, had it not been for, because had it not been for Nipsey going back to the hood, he'd still be alive. Because remember, he was up in Beverly Hills with his, actress girlfriend. They done made it out. He went back literally to the hood and got killed in the hood by the hood. That
was a personal beef between him and the dude he called a snitch.
But it doesn't get any more hood than the dude that killed him.
Yeah.
Like that dude was hood. He was the hood. That dude that killed him.
I'm all about going back, and if you can help somebody out, if one cat that I showed how to tie a tie, tied a tie and got himself a job because I helped him tie a tie, it was all worth it, and it's always going to be worth it for me.
I'm not risking my life to tie no damn ties.
Wait a minute. So if you got killed, you leave your children and your wife and your mama and your daddy, you're saying it was worth it because you taught somebody how to tie their tie back in your old neighborhood?
You know what? If I go and I'm helping people and I got killed anywhere on this, where I was in the military, if I was in the military and I went overseas and got killed helping somebody, if I see a kid about to cross the street, get hit by a truck, and I dive in front of her, push the kid away, and get killed. If I'm getting killed helping body, it was a life well lived. And the people my family gonna appreciate how I went out. My wife and the kids gonna miss me, but they ain't gonna sit there and be like, oh my God, I wish my daddy would have never saved that person or helped that person or try to make that person's life a little bit better.
Is this Damien?
This is Damien.
Okay.
I gather everything makes sense now.
He's allowed his opinion. I've heard crazier shit up here than that, but I just want to say that I don't want this to go into like, oh, you're bashing poor people. I fucking grew up poor. Everybody around me was fucking poor when I was growing up.
I grew up poor.
I'm from the Bronx. So that is not what we're saying. There are a lot of good people around it, but then there was degeneracy all around me, right? There was crime all around me. And those people are the ones that ruin those neighborhoods, because poor doesn't mean that you're a degenerate, but then people around you. Yes. And it is a breeding ground, actually. You said it was
poor doesn't mean you're a saint.
But it is it is very much a breeding ground, but everybody's different. I also don't want to bash people that say, if I make it out, I'm out. I'm not going back. Like I don't want to bash them either. You get one life. So if you get rich, you hit the Mega Million, or you hit a lick, contact you out, be the fuck out. Don't go back for nobody. Worry about you and yours. If you could change the life of your wife, your children, and your family and your mama, then you did something good on earth. You don't have to die a martyr, right? With an S on your chest, like, because I went back to help the hood and now you're dead, right? So both are okay. Both are absolutely okay. I want to be fair. I think Simon Hectic was waiting, and then Chocolate Earth. And I know, Ish, I know you wanted to respond to Damien.
So go ahead, Simon. Do you think
Yes, Simon.
No, I came in because of the actual original question.
Oh, okay.
Trick or treat.
All right, so we're gonna go to that right after we get our last comments on what we're talking about right now. Then we will segue, if possible. Brother Ish, you can respond to Damien, and then we'll throw it to Chocolate Earth, and then we can get into the main topic of the night that we've been waiting to get to.
I mean, I will say this, I did grow up in a middle class type of environment, that was surrounded by, I was right down the street from where Nipsey Hussle lived. I mean, not lived, but you know, where he got murdered, and where they filmed, you know, Training Day in the jungles. I say all that to say that, you know, so I was, you know, I was not, I did not escape the trappings of the so-called hood. But it's also a point that, you know, every crap game out in LA, somebody's getting shot. That's just a byproduct of that environment. I mean, it's real. Like I went to a crap game. I don't even shoot dice, and I was just hanging out. And the next thing I knew, cats were getting mad, and somebody pulled out a gun and started shooting. So I mean, it was just, you know, I've been there, so it can happen. So that's just a byproduct of that. In this business, a lot of people make the error of thinking that they're coming from one neighborhood or some hood scenario, and the first thing that, like, a lot of New Yorkers would say when they came to LA in the hip hop genre, you know, be like, "Yo, take me to the hood. Yo, I want to see the real. I want to see." And it's always the one like, "Nah, you don't really want to do that." You know what I'm saying? Like, so I understand that the fact of, yes, there are trappings in the Black community that you don't want to just necessarily just run into and say, "Hey, I'm hanging out with the homies," and you're gonna get something bad is going to happen to you just because that's what goes on in that environment. And you're not made of Teflon because you came from one hood on one side of the country to land in another hood and think that you're protected. No, you're just as much a possible victim. And this is not Disneyland. You can't walk around and just, you know, do a tourist drive-through and think that something's not going to happen to you. With all that being said, you know, there are situations where men in the community stood up and cleaned up a community. You know, the Mayfair Manor projects in Washington, D.C. was a great example of that, where it was a project, there was drugs going in, and a group of men, you know, that came in and voluntarily secured the area and ran the drugs out of that community. And that community is still thriving from this day on. So it's not, you know, the hood is a perpetual dead zone, because if white folks can, you know, Lewis and Clark up in there and then finally gentrify it, you know, then ultimately we can turn around and do the same thing. And we just have to be, you know, as firm and resolute as those. And if we have comprehensive knowledge to be aware of different scenarios that have taken place, we would be successful on a greater scale.
Well, it is a dead zone until somebody goes and saves it. Let's be clear. It's a fucking dead zone until someone comes in and Lewis and Clark said, or whatever it is you said. I thought this comment was funny. The faster an artist does the blousy linens, mansion, driveway, car videos with spiral stairwells, the better his odds of relating to another demographic audience of buyers. Tease. I thought that was funny because that sounds like every rap video. Like, I done made it. Here it is, the spiral staircase and the rented mansion, blah, blah, blah. I do want to acknowledge something Damien said, that you know, that a lot of that shit is fake. The money phones, the cars are rented and what have you. But as far as moving out the hood, you know, single mothers, single fathers do it. They move cross country all the time to better the life of their kids. So I'm not trying to hear that a rapper that can at least afford a Mercedes-Benz can't move out the hood. They just don't want to. They like the environment. They relate to the environment. That's why I said about Rihanna. She went around the world, met the best of the best, the echelon, the excellence of every man walking the earth, okay? And she decided, no, I want A$AP Rocky, little Harlem Negro, weighs about $125, to be the father of my child. So some of these people just, that's what they relate to. That's what they want. Nicki Minaj, same thing, traveled the world, became a multimillionaire. She picks up some degenerate that she knew in Queens from back in the day who you know, is a rapist on record. And she decided, I want you to knock me up and have my kids. So I think what let's not ignore that these people, that is the core of who they are. It's not that they can't leave, is that they can relate to that. That's home to them. It's just that sometimes home is fucking dangerous, but home nonetheless. So I do get that. I wanted to pass the mic to Chocolate Earth before we move on with the subject and pick it up a little bit. Chocolate Earth, what say you?
Hey, how you doing? Can everybody hear me okay?
Perfectly.
Hey, I don't know if you remember me. We were on Nate's channel together with the Boo Rah Ha Ha couple. It was some months back. I never get to catch you live, so I'm glad I did. Hey.
Oh, welcome.
Thank you. So just to put it simply, unfortunately, here's another person of color who's been taken down by gun violence, so on and so forth. However, I have come to the conclusion that we have to be solution driven. This conversation has been going on for years. We're talking 80s, 90s, early 2000s. I mean, the violence is there. And of course, we all know that these particular reasons why, or the nuances as to why it leads to this. And to the point earlier, there are some people who like it and there's some people who don't. I do think it's time to create opportunity. And when I say that, I mean like I'm in agriculture and building homes, affordable homes for people. I think it's time for a migration. You know, you got a lot of people that are on the East Coast. 56% of Black people live in the South. And so, but only 15% of us live out West. There's land everywhere. And it may take from the ground up to start creating opportunities, affordable housing, feeding people. Because if you can house people and feed people, I don't have a reason to look over at Jen and want to take her stuff, unless that's just my personality. But the majority of the time, it's very, very simple. I know it may sound like, oh, I'm trying to save the world, but maybe I am. And that's just what it is. And to everybody's point, yeah, I was touched by the hood. I was touched by gun violence, the whole nine. However, it just made me understand more that the fact of lack of education in our poor neighborhoods, usually the transportation is bad, or if it is, it's dangerous. There's just so many things going on. And to the point of, yes, there are good people, so let's help them. Because I do believe if we can help those who want to help themselves, who want better for themselves and their children, by creating communities and neighborhoods like our counterparts do, just get out of where you are. But you can't do it alone. We do nothing alone in this life. And I think now it's time for, instead of us having this conversation, it should be solution driven. Let's invest in the people that need assistance, because that turns into community power, turns into economic power, which turns into political power. And then you can be a part of the system to change laws. Like, why is it so easy for everybody to have a handgun? And why do we allow for people to come into neighborhoods and gentrify opportunity zones? Those things can be changed. You can start out small and have a big impact. And this is just another reason I see that it's necessary, because what are we going to do for our children that aren't in their 20s? We're talking about the ones who are they're the parent. You got 20-year-olds that's already having 2, 3, 4 children. What's going to happen to them? We're going to keep repeating the same cycle and nothing's going to change. And then we're just going to complain. So I say that, and we can move on. Thank you.
Thank you. What do you guys think about that? Does someone have
Yes.
a reply, Joanna? And then we could move on to the next.
Yes, Miss Chocolate. I love that idea about you being an agriculture background and development. You know, and I love the statistics about, 50%, 56% of so-called Black people live in the South. There's still a lot of land in the South. I'm in Arkansas. There's still a lot of land in Arkansas, Tennessee, Kentucky.
Yes, ma'am. You're exactly right. I'm working with a family in Mississippi right now. We're trying to create a community. They have 30 acres. Well, total 50. We're trying to make affordable housing and housing for vets. So I agree with you.
Where I take issue is where you spoke about helping those who are in need help. Some people, like if you were a physician instead of what you do, say you're an oncologist, that's a cancer doctor. And an oncologist, they make their assessments, they, when they see, they make their prognosis. Sometimes it's stage 1, sometimes it's stage 2, 3, 4. You can't be helped. You really can't be helped. Only thing they can do is make you comfortable and make your transition as easy as possible. Within this culture that we all do love, and I speak with love, even though some of my talking points may not sound that way, they may sound anti-Black, but I'm anti-degeneracy. So when an oncologist diagnoses a patient at stage 4, stage 3, they may not be able to be helped. Then we have to let them go. And so you may hear me say something like, we have to leave them behind. Those people can't go to this new community with the land in Arkansas and
I
Kentucky
just want
and
you to know I
Tennessee.
completely agree with you. We can't help
Okay.
everybody.
So that's what I was.
So
So I'm
yeah.
grateful that you jumped in because Jen knows I can talk. I was
Yeah.
gonna
No,
take you down
no.
this whole road, but
Listen,
you
it's
just
all right. It's all
you
right. But yes,
just
ma'am.
and here's the other thing about the
Mm-hmm.
guns.
Yes.
I cannot, and no one does, Miss Chocolate. No one lives in a community without weapons, without arms.
Exactly.
It's our Second Amendment right
I
to bear
just think
arms.
that
I
it
will
shouldn't
not
be as
live
easy.
anywhere without my shotgun and without my pistol
Of
and
course.
without. Okay, so that's another thing that I brought up. But
Yes,
I am
ma'am.
about helping people.
I
I
don't have
volunteer. I
any
don't tout these
judgment.
things. I don't
No,
tout
no,
these
no, no.
things.
Please
But
don't think that.
I do volunteer. A lot of it is with so-called religious entities. But I do volunteer, and I do believe in helping people who I think want to be helped. But some of these people, Miss Chocolate, like Jen said, it's a mindset. They don't want to be helped.
You are
They
right.
don't want, they have no interest in this new land development out somewhere, and
Just to
wherever or whatever.
jump in, just to let you
Yes,
know,
ma'am.
I have no delusion about those who will and those who want. I think what happens, just like in a classroom, right? You got the group of kids that just don't want to listen. Do I stop teaching because a group of them don't want to listen? Nah, I get their ass out the room and take care of the ones who want to.
Yes.
And that's what we
Yes.
have to do as adults, is look past the degeneracy and reach our hands out for those who need it. And there are plenty. We
Thank you
still
for
only
clarifying that.
average. Yes, ma'am. I have no problem. Transparency is necessary. So yes, we can talk again another time. All right.
Thank you, Miss Chocolate. All right, guys. So unless someone wants to say something else about this particular topic, I will segue into the main topic. If you guys want to do the main topic now, it is up
No,
to you.
can I just close on one point? Jen?
Sure.
When we look at individuals and characterize them as degenerate and say that they do not want to be better, or they sometimes they don't know how and don't even have the right perception. I spend my life in my life's aspect as working in the Black community, dealing directly with degenerates and watching the migration from one state of consciousness to another, just based upon the fact that somebody stood there long enough to aid them through their process. Now, again, there's offering the opportunity and a pathway of redemption. I think it is key and significant. And I just think that, I'll give you an example and I'll close on this. When we were doing security as the Nation of Islam in the projects in Venice, as we continued to be out there, we saw that the young men, even though they resisted us, we had physical conflicts, we had, situations with guns, all kinds of situations happen. We saw how at a certain point, the young men started to migrate from one level of consciousness based upon just our proximity being there to where they stopped the gangbanging behavior and situations. They started changing how they dressed because they noticed that a lot of the community was attracted to the seeing well-dressed Black men in the community and always praising us. And they wanted that praise. And you started to see them pull up their pants and wear different belts and ask questions and start diving into, how can I cut my hair? How can I do this? How can I do that? So there is a value in proximity, and there is a value in those who are steadfast and as aggressive as we can be about running from the hood. There are times that we need to have men that are strong, and women that are strong enough to aggressively go in and address the aggression. And so that's just my position. Thank you.
So could you have gotten killed? doing what you were doing? Could you have gotten killed in that situation?
Absolutely. I took guns. I was shot at. One of the brothers got beat, really badly, and the brothers came in, and we met the same energy, and they realized that okay, these guys, even though they're well dressed, we come from that environment, and we will respond appropriately when aggressed upon.
Okay, so I just want to say to you and to Damien, it's dangerous work. And I wish you all the love and strength and bravery that you guys need to do that type of work. I also think if someone does want to run from the hood, like you said, they should do that, and no guilt should be put upon them. Like, you're supposed to come back and save us out here. I think, again, I will say both are perfectly okay. If your calling in life is, I'm going to go back to the hood, whether it kills me or not, and save this community, great. If you're the type of person, me and mine, and I will change the world by making my children the best they could be, then that's your calling. So both are okay. Whoever's going back to the hood and risking life and limb to help somebody tie a tie or to help somebody wear a suit, I wish you all the best. They are both okay. Just be
Jen, may I ask Brother Muhammad a quick question?
Yes, please.
Brother Muhammad, respectfully, I love you. I love what you just said. But respectfully, may I ask you this question? Is it true that the Nation of Islam is now subsidized by the European Scientologist group started by Ron L. Hubbard?
No, it's not true.
It's not true?
No.
Okay, thank you.
We have a relationship to studying some of their practices and group organization.
Okay, forgive me if forgive me. I'm more inclined to believe that it is true.
Right, but
forgive me. I hope that's not disrespecting you, but I'm more inclined to believe that is true.
No, that's fine, but we're not subsidized. Just to be clear,
I may be misusing my words.
Well, wait,
but there is a relationship.
There's a relationship, but there's a relationship with churches that we have. There's a relationship with even different Jewish groups that we have. So it just if we have goals that are in alignment, then we find to work in that capacity. And
is it true that the Nation of Islam would not exist without this relationship any longer, as we see today in 2022?
No, that's not true.
Okay, I'm more inclined to not believe that, but I appreciate your candor. I appreciate your candor. I appreciate your intelligence. I appreciate your drive and your desire. I appreciate your love for people. I sincerely mean that.
Right. So just for a point of reference.
I don't want to go too far off into the weeds with Scientology, but you said religions that are in alignment. What does the Nation of Islam have in common with science? Because I've studied a little bit of both, especially Scientology. How is Elijah Muhammad's beliefs and practices, how do those align with Scientology headed by L. Ron Hubbard of all people? I'm just curious, like, how do those two things mix? I thought white man was the devil and all of that.
Wow.
I mean, the white man by nature, we still believe the white man by nature is still the devil, yes. But when it comes to the alignment, it comes into the aspects of dealing with mental trauma and some of the training and the systems that they have in place. We found some degree of success. Being a community that is steeped in a lot of mental trauma and not always finding the same successes in the different drugs that are provided for some of these ailments. There's some systems that we found with Scientology that we study. Now, just as if, somebody that's in the nation goes to Harvard, you're not going there to do anything other than study what you find valuable at Harvard and then leave. So, this raised questions, of course, even within the body of the believers in the nation, and it was addressed and discussed and was clear. It's just an exchange of different systems and training that they have in place that work with dealing with human beings. I find that even, not to go any too deep in the weeds in this, they have an organizational class that I thought was great. So some of the things that they have is this information. It's not about following their belief system. It's not about following L. Ron Hubbard. It's not about, being, running around singing Kumbaya. We're all a group. No, they have some information that we find valuable, and that's the bottom line.
All right, but it's L. Ron Hubbard's.
It has to do with economics, Jen. It has to do with money. The Nation of Islam was going broke.
I get it, and that's fine. I mean, I think all
Nation of Islam's not going broke. Let me say this: if you do a deeper dive in the economics of the nation, the lifeblood of the Nation of Islam is the Final Call newspaper, and it is in heavy circulation. It is the founding finance source for the nation. And it does quite well. So, the nation was not going broke. Ministry gets a lot of charitable donations and has a lot of good relationships around the world. But we didn't need Scientology. Again, bottom line, what we're doing there
is incredulous. This is incredulous. This is not to be believed. But go ahead.
Why are we taking it this route? It's just
right. I'm just like I don't.
Why am I saying, Damien, that something that is false is something is true is false?
Why are you trying to start you trying to shoehorn a narrative?
Yeah, Jen, can we go to the topic of the movie?
Exactly.
Yeah, let's go to the topic. Let's move on. Let's move on. He made a statement.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck about Scientology.
I'm with you, Truck.
And I'm an atheist.
Let's move on.
But I will say this: I did like Battlefield Earth.
I'm done with you.
You one of 8 people.
So, guys,
Black people don't like to hear the truth. Let's move on.
Yeah. Okay. So, as far men treating women better and being jealous for it, right?
Here we go. Everybody take a deep breath. The Scientologists on the panel, the Muslims, the atheists, the Christians, the Catholics, everybody take a deep breath. Let's get into the fuckery here.
Ooh, motherfucking sigh.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Trick or treat. Do men hate on men who treat women better than they can? We see the visual. There goes the man. He obviously is a man of means, walking with his lady. She's a beaming piece of sunshine. We got the guy that's opening the car because he's the chauffeur and obviously doesn't have the money of the man that's walking with the lady. And what does he call him? A simp. And we've heard that catchy phrase before lots of times in these spaces. So what do you think? Do men hate on men who treat women better than they can? And let me just qualify it. A lot of times I see those men attack the woman too, right? They're like, yeah, he's simping for her, but she's a X, Y, and Z. She's a hoe. She's a bitch. We watched it in celebrity divorces. If Dre has to pay his wife $500 million, they attack her. That bitch wasn't shooting with him in the gym, right? They usually attack the woman. It's like they live vicariously through these celebrities, and those celebrities' pockets, for some reason, they feel like the pockets of that guy who couldn't afford to pay $500 million. So what say you? I know you guys were chomping at the bit to get at this.
When you take women out on dates, right? Now, this whole thing, because first of all, one thing I've noticed about like this manosphere content and this red pill manosphere content, I think a lot of I can understand where women come from when they say a lot of it's misogynistic. Like the dudes are talking about how they don't take women out on dates at all, and then how they refuse to pay, and that they pay half and all that shit. It's like there is a level of misogyny from that angle, because I grew up in the 80s, and I'm a product of the 80s, right? So I like going on dates. I like being able to go on a date, take a woman on a date. Like the last chick, I took my chick with me to go to Maldives, for God's sakes. And that was an expensive trip. But the average one of these dudes who absolutely could not even possibly afford one of those tickets, most likely, oh, you're simping and this, that, and other, or you're tricking overseas. It's like, hey, first of all, if you've got enough money to actually provide for a woman or even to provide for a family, it's like you've achieved something and you should be proud of it, and nobody really should be criticizing you for it. But these dudes here, these dudes will criticize you each and every way. God forbid you get married. They criticize you for that. They call you a simp for getting married. So my thing is, you're dealing with, I think it's a level of mental illness. Some of these dudes are like, oh yeah, well, you shouldn't be doing nothing for women. You can't trust them. You're basically stretching out your neck on a chopping block and this, that, and the other. And when it gets to the point where it's like, oh yeah, you shouldn't marry any of them. You should just with this pump and dump. My issue with that is like, well, if that's how you want to live, you're not going to go very far in it, and you're never going to grow anything. You're not going to build anything. You're not going to grow anything. You can brag about how much money you make, but you're never getting anywhere with that money. You've got nobody to leave it to. When you die, it'll be like you never existed. So that's all I got to say. Next.
Well, Damien, what say you?
Yeah, I think you already know kind of how my view is on this. I'm like, I did a whole show on is it simping? And I think what it is just, the way I haven't dated in a while, but the way I did date, it was I whatever I wanted to do, I just wanted that person's company as a part of the enjoyment of the day. Like, for example, if I say Morton's got this amazing Hawaiian ribeye, I love having it. If you want to join me there, we should go at 8:00 on Tuesday. If that kind of situation, I'm not going to be like, oh, she going to think guy's going to think I'm a sip because I'm going to go and spend $200-$250 on a meal when I would have spent half that, if not a little bit less than half that by myself or with other people. I would have had one of my boys. We would have went to go eat or something. I would have had some company on that meal. I think what it is, the simping part comes if you totally change who you are to fit what you think somebody else wants. That's what I think is. If you hate, if you're not a vegan, all of a sudden, you know what? I was thinking about being a vegan. So let's go to this, let's try this vegan restaurant because the person told you that they're a vegan, or you totally change parts of your personality, or you're spending money that you actually don't have to try to impress this person and try to make it seem like you're doing more than you do. That's where I think the simping comes in. Doing things on your level is just doing things on your level. And I think to kind of get back to the topic, cats do hate on that because they feel like it's an unfair advantage. So what they want to do is make you feel bad, so make you want to do it less, so it evens the playing field.
Oh,
they're like, I think that's what it is. They want you feel guilty about it. So if you're taking them to Applebee's, they can take them to Applebee's. They know they can't go to Morton's or Ruth Chris or what have you. So they want you to make you feel bad about it. So yes, to answer the initial questions, guys do hate on guys who who can do a little bit more. I just want to tell this one thing. I remember I was watching this show when it was like Simon Cowell's girlfriend's car broke down, and he said, "Oh, you know what? I just bought this Porsche. You can have it. Go ahead. Don't even worry about it." His ex-girlfriend that he's still cool with, and people were like, "Oh my God, simp, simp, simp." And he just they didn't say it in whatever word they use for simp in normal culture, normal society is. And he was like, "Let me explain something to you. Me buying her a car is the same thing as you buying her flowers. It hits my bank account the exact same. So don't come at me because I have the ability to do something and not even think twice about it." And that's kind of stuck with me for a long time. I was like, that's kind of how I feel about it.
Well, I just pulled up his net worth. If we could believe what's on, a quick Google, it says $385 million. So yeah, I'm sure the Porsche didn't mean shit to him. I did see somebody online one time say, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. He said, I've never given a woman something I needed back. So that's the difference between me and what you're trying to call me a simp. He was like, most dudes, they give a woman something that they would need back, and that's what they're mad about. I did find that interesting. I always tell people that you can't afford to date, do not date. And it's not so much about tax bracket, but it's about if you're going to feel jaded or slighted after you buy a woman a steak and didn't get none, then you should not be dating and buying women steaks. You should be home. That's what I think. Miss Chocolate, what do you think about this? Have you seen this behavior?
Well, I think this is a perfect topic for me because I am one of those women who have been on spaghetti dates and I've also been flued out. So it's like I'm thankful though. My mother told me that. She said date. So that's what I did. So I've gone out with men with money. I've gone out with men with no money. I even one time I had a truck date, right? I used to drive 18 wheels and a former classmate of mine was like, "Hey, we ran across each other." That sounds wrong, but we ran into each other, I should say. And he invited me to his truck and we had a date, popcorn, movies, the whole nine. So I think that a lot of men, because they're trying to compete with other men for women that they want, it's interesting that you only hear the word simp come up when it's an attractive woman with a guy who may not be as attractive or what men deem as, oh, well, you only with him because of his money or she only with you because of da. It's like, what happened to personality? What happened to maybe he's just a good time? Maybe he makes me laugh. Maybe I feel safe. They don't ask those questions.
Mhm.
If these type of men lead with two things, their dick and their money, like that's it. And then turn around and get upset when they run into a woman, it's like, all right, I'll take the dick and the money. Let's go. So it's just this
That's
dichotomy. Huh?
That's not a bad use of making money. That's not
Yeah,
bad.
right. Like, what's the problem? However, I think a lot of times, because again, and it ties into what we were talking about earlier, you know, men compete with other men for resources. I hate to say this, but as women, we are considered resources. We provide children, we provide heirs, lineage, the whole nine. And I think that when it comes to dating, I don't think a lot of people know what that means. Because unless somebody has taught you those standards or what you should look for when someone is trying to court you in comparison, and that just dating doesn't mean you sleep with each guy.
Mhm.
You go out with them. It's like getting shoes. I love shoes. So it's like when I go to the store, I might have some busted Vans, but I got the Manolos back at the house. So it's like if I think if men stopped competing, which they won't. However, it has a lot to do with the insecurity of certain types of men who want women that they wouldn't look twice at. You know what I mean? And it's really crazy how I've had men say that to me, like, "Oh, I know you probably been with these type of dudes." Yeah, so and I'm with you right now. So why you worried about her? So that's my take on it.
World Kings, I know you done called dude simp before. I know you did. So come with it. What you got?
A pimp, not a simp. No, I'm just playing. That's that Pimp C. I'm messing with y'all, but
Okay.
nah. I think the word simp has gotten misused.
Oh, what's the original meaning? Do
The
tell.
original meaning of a simp would be, say me and Chocolate is together, and say she's mistreating me, disrespecting me, talking down to me. She don't never
I
give me
would
no time.
never.
No, I'm
I
just
would
saying
never.
this is
I'm
just
just
an
playing.
example.
I'm
This is
just playing.
I'm trying. I know you won't. But say she's doing all those things, and I'm still appeasing to her. I'm still catering to her. I'm still putting my best foot forward with her. That's simping. See, now the face of a simp right now, unfortunately, is they call Russell Wilson a simp, which I don't believe he's a simp. I don't believe he's a simp. He's just a regular, normal dude, what we would call a square or whatever. That don't make him a simp, though. You know what I'm saying?
Man is loving that woman, boy. Woo!
Exactly. Yeah. And so, and as far as men hating on men, there's a lyric from Tupac that said, "There's 10 rules to the game, but I share with you two. No, niggas gonna hate you for whatever you do. So you're gonna get hated on whether you got money, whether you don't got money. If you got, there was back in the day, and I'm pretty sure the gentlemen and the women know about this. Hate comes whether you're broke, whether you're not broke. If you was able to get the dude in high school or whatever, you're gonna get some hate. If you was able to get a certain girl or whatever, you was gonna get some hate. You know what I'm saying? And then also the late great Nipsey Hussle said, I'm down to splurge on my B because I don't wife no whores. Something. So you're down to splurge on your woman and stuff. That don't make it tricking. That don't make it this. That don't make it that. You're just spending money on your woman. So I believe that simp word is misused. You know what I'm saying? I think I think the manosphere is what messed the word simp up. You know what I'm saying?
Manosphere messed up a lot of words.
They misconstrued simp with just regular. If you're a regular dude that takes care of your kids and you take care of your woman, they're gonna call you a simp, which is retarded. You know what I'm saying?
Before I pass the mic to Joanna, World Kings, what's the female version of a simp? What would you call a woman that's just looking out for her man all the time and catering to
Yes.
word?
The female version of a simp, I don't know. There is a word. Somebody said it. Somebody said it. The female version would be the same thing though. It would be the same thing in reverse. This dude ain't paying you no attention. He's talking to you crazy. He's disrespecting you. He's doing all this. He ain't even having sex with you, but you still catering to him. You still catering to him. You're still doing whatever he wants you to do for him. That's what a simp is.
Yeah, I've heard pick me and simp a lot. Joanna, what do you think?
Yes, the female term for the equivalent of a simp is codependent or doormat.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've heard women. You're a doormat for him. Okay, true.
Someone should sound some trumpets because this is probably the first time I've ever been on a panel with Damien, and I've agreed with what he says. Because I am on the opposite end of anything he says.
Damn.
So dun, 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 dun.
There's always understanding that can be had.
Of course. I have much respect for you, all of you. So let me say what I agree with him with, and Miss Chocolate. I just want to say, Damien, you were saying that men are naturally, innately competitive, and what's not really spoken enough about in this so-called manosphere world is that the nature of women. Women, as Miss Chocolate said, is man's resource. She's a natural resource. And scripture speaks to this about how she will multiply anything that he brings. So, and the proper word that's floating around today is that women are naturally hypergamous. She's naturally constantly seeking to survive, and she seeks naturally, without thinking, subconsciously, to pick the best provider of whatever, of flowers, of Porsches, of houses, of food, restaurant, tax bracket, what have you. Some people talk about the male phallus. That may be a part of it as well. Some people talk about height. That's a part of it as well. But she's always innately, it's her natural way to constantly choose the best mate for her in her environment. Just as lions, fight over the lioness or any other subspecies. We're not that far different from that. So women are naturally, choosing the mates. Men naturally compete for those. And so, yes, I agree with you. And when you are not competing or able to compete, you're going to be a little sour grapes. That's women too. Women dog women out who get the guy that she wants because she is not to his standard. So, and I agree with Miss Chocolate as well, especially about the, women being a resource. If we all take a step back and we look at it, we all want the best for ourselves. It's just that we sometimes the social media context of it all, like Jen spoke to before, we're on this wheel, this hamster wheel, and some people, they don't know where they fall. They don't know what lane they fall in. Historically, men didn't always get a woman. Historically, men didn't always get to marry a woman. You had to compete for these things. There was a certain rite of passage And today in 2022, all men, regardless, feel that it is their right and not a privilege to have a woman. And see, that takes away the competition when you have that mindset that you must compete, that you must provide, and that gets you into the room, so to speak. And so that's what I have to say on that. I hope it wasn't too long.
That was a great point, Joanna, because I tell men here on this panel all the time, not that my guys are great, but I say on the show, specifically for the people that are watching, it doesn't matter how mad men get. They can call women hoes, sluts, bitches, whatever. You can call men simps, punks, whatever. Women are always going to want the best in the group, period. I don't care if it's the post office, the football field, corporate America, wherever, you're a doctor, you're a nurse. Women are always going to gravitate towards the best in the group. And then everybody else gets what they get. We see it in the animal kingdom. That silverback is fucking everybody up.
Hello.
Jen, on what Joanna just said, the one thing I would just say is, in the last thing.
Finish, Big Chuck. I didn't even finish. I didn't finish. No, it's okay. It's interesting, like how men get really mad at these other men and get mad at the women that are, getting their money. But I'm like, it's always, you have to stop fighting it and accept it and just try to be the best man that you could possibly be, because the women are always going to gravitate towards the silverback in the room. And that's what I wanted to say. Go ahead, Big Chuck.
No, all I was going to say was I actually disagree on one thing. In the old days, the majority of the men were getting women and were married, or at least they were married, whether or not they were best at dating, they were getting married. But where I do agree is what you're saying, that now most of these men feel that they should be getting married just like the men of old. Because when you talk about social media has basically increased the hypergamy of the women. So what they call it is that the women are practicing dual dating strategies, where they're basically holding out the best of themselves for the next person. Either that, or they're giving the best of themselves to the careers that they're in, or whatever, the school that they're in. So they're giving their youth to that, and they're not giving that to the man. So that's why the men are so disgusted and in grief right now.
Can I ask the ladies something real quick?
Jen, I didn't get a chance.
Because I feel like
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead, brother. I'm sorry. I was gonna pass it to you, and then
Can I just ask this real question real quick, and then I mute myself? Is like, for women, I just want to know, because it seems like for women, simp and catch are different sides of the same coin. Does attractiveness determine whether, for a woman, if somebody is simping or is somebody a catch? Is it an attractiveness a factor to determine how you view the actions that somebody's taking? Physical attractiveness.
Well, I'm happy to answer after the gentleman finishes statement.
I took the short yellow bus. I didn't understand. I took the short yellow bus.
So, if I'm understanding it correctly, you're asking if looks go into whether he's a simp or a catch. Are we looking?
Yeah, whether or not you view him as a simp or a catch.
Hell yes. I don't want to look at a man that can make monkey hookies with his face every day. Because money can disappear. Let's just be honest. Like, the market could fall tomorrow and your $350 million ain't worth shit now. I got to be able to look at you at night. I can't sleep with the money. I can't have an intimate relationship with the money. And if you making me feel creepy crawly, I'm not going to do that. That's me personally. Now, have I gone out with guys who kind of look a little suspect and people ask me why you go out with him? He had a good personality. He was nice. It's not really that different how men look at us. I don't know why we try to separate it.
Exactly. That's what I was saying, Chocolate. It's not that different.
Right. I look at your teeth. I look at your hands. I look at your eyes. I want to make sure you ain't got jaundice. I'm looking at around your mouth. I'm making sure you ain't got no cold sores. Honey, listen, by the time I have finished, I have basically seen whether that hairline is going to disappear some, what them feet looking like when you got your shoes on, how your pants fit. And if your booty too big, I can't deal with that. So there's all of these things play into it. And it's the truth. Like, when you say simp and you say catch, now some women, yes, of course, you'd be like, oh my God, you have to cut all the lights off when he come over, but he pay all my bills. That scenario is true. But then you can have a really nice looking guy. He's sweet. He's funny. He want a family. He work. And I'm just giving the extremes on both sides. But there's also that huge middle ground where I think when we talk about people worrying about what other people will think of us, when you go outside, and that's a huge part of it, whether we want to tell the truth or not, or whether we know that that's like subconscious, we also watch and see how people react to the men that we're with or to the women that we're with. So it all plays in. It's a societal thing, because a catch would be everything on your particular, and I'm doing quotation marks, I apologize, I would cam up, but I'm braiding my hair. The quote, quote unquote catch is what your perfection is. It's what you're comfortable with. And I think what I love to see the most is when a couple is together and they don't give a shit about what someone else thinks. Because then you know that they're into them. They're not worrying about who's on the outside. And it's about when I cut these lights off, when we go in this house, when I shut this door, we get in this bed, what is left? And there's a lot of empty homes and a lot of cold beds, because we too worried about what other people think. Be with who you want to be with, and just be the best of you, and you will attract sometimes the person who's the best of them. So that would be my answer. Sorry, I went a little longer.
Juana, you can answer, and then I'll throw the mic to Ish.
I'll throw the mic to the gentleman as well. I think Miss Chocolate said everything that's in my heart and mind. So I'll just
Brother Ish.
Okay. In answer to the question, do males hate on men who treat women better than they can? I definitely agree with that statement in that expression. We are highly competitive, and until you really understand the dynamics of what it means to be a man, and that your role, let me qualify like this. In my belief system and in my sociological practices, we believe that the man's role is to protect and provide for the woman. And so that there's not a shameful dynamic when it comes to the provision for a woman, regardless of circumstances. And I think that we have to, as males and men, grow into that understanding that is our role. And when they say that, and this is something I had to grow into personally, when they say that it's a two-income society now, that may mean that the man has to get two jobs. doesn't necessarily mean that she has to work. She has the option to. She has the right to do whatever she chooses.
That's interesting. That's very
in our teachings within the Nation of Islam, the common saying is, your money is her money and her money is her money.
That's interesting. That's interesting, because when that is said, well, now we live in a two-income society, take it or leave it. The conversation of, well, maybe the man should get two jobs never comes up. It's always like, no, it means the woman has to work and the man has to work. So that's different. That's interesting.
I have so much respect for that.
It's a maturity that I had to. I'm sorry, Joanna. It's a maturity that I had to grow into, and again, we have the trappings of a lot of things in the society, but as you go through experiences and you have relationships and you have scenarios and you have things that are pointed out to you, you start to become more introspective, and you start to walk through the processes of self-improvement.
I can hear all the manosphere men dropping their teacups right now. Just if they were to hear what you just said.
Child is broke.
And there lies the problem.
In the street.
They got teacups. That tells you a whole lot about the manosphere.
And I have so much respect for what Brother Ish just said about the second job, is because you can't on one end say, well, I can't do my Jen's voice, but women ain't shit and women are just gold diggers and women just want our money and they want free food dates and you can't say all that, and then claim to, well, we're supposed to be the leaders and women should, be submissive, but yet you want to go 50-50 on the mortgage. You want to go 50-50 to Maldives. You want to go 50-50 at Starbucks. You want, you have to choose. And if being a so-called man as opposed to a male means that you truly take care of that individual who is a woman or a female, then yes, it means that if you need two incomes, that means the man, works those two positions to be that. It still goes along with the rite of passage and being the holder of of resources that other men are competing for. And so I have a lot of respect for what Brother Ish just said. And some of the manosphere talking points I've heard, speaks to that. They say they will not, they will no longer date a woman who advises to go 50-50 because that's a part of feminism, or they won't go 50-50 because that's not truly being a man who has the leverage necessary to lead a woman, if that
What
makes
do you
sense.
think about this game right here? K20 F1 says 50-50 in the beginning and no, she's on the right track. 50-50. What do you think about
Interesting.
that?
Go ahead,
Joanna,
sir. I'll wait.
I'm really quickly on that thing that Joanna just said, because two of you have said about men treating women as resources, right? The bottom line is you have to always remember men and women are evolved from hunter-gatherers. Men go out, they hunt, they bring home whatever they get, and they share it with their family or the woman, right? So basically, they also hunted for a woman at one point and brought her home. Never did he think that she was actually going to decide that she could just pick up and fucking leave. That's what they're dealing with now. So as far as that Maldives trip, no, I paid the full trip to Maldives just like I will when we go to Bora Bora. The thing about it is when you go onto those bungalows, there's nothing else to do except either stare at each other, eat, or have sex. So basically, she was the resource. I brought her along just like my luggage. And despite the fact that, it was coming out of my money, she knew what her job was. Her job was to keep me like basically my stomach full and my balls empty, basically. Oh, go ahead. Next person.
Fact.
Right. All
Fact.
right.
And I respect that, and I completely agree with that role. I would fulfill that role if I was in that position.
By the way, we flew business class. We didn't fly that cheap ass. Oh no, I made videos of that shit. We didn't fly that cheap ass economy. We flew business class on Emirates.
Let me ask you a question though.
On Emirates on my dime.
Well, all right then.
Yeah,
let me ask you a question. I want to ask the gentleman in the room. So, how do you guys feel about? And I know to the one brother Ish, Salam alaikum, my brother, because we grew up practicing Islam, so I completely understand that role. I grew up under that. Watching my mom be the domestic. She did those things. She made my father's kufis, his clothes, the whole nine. Anyway, I guess even as a little girl, I was odd because I'll never forget. I told my mother, I was probably about 5 years old. And I told her, I don't mind paying for a man to have coffee. And my parents kind of looked at each other. My father was upset, right? Because he's like, no, she's going to be used. And then my mom was like, oh my God, what's going on with this girl? So I've actually taken men out on dates. I have bought them drinks at the bar. I have set up trips and invited, people. So I wonder how you guys feel about that when a woman decides to take that role. And that has nothing to do with feminism, though. That's just me choosing who I like.
Can I respond to that?
Please.
I think that again, the providing her the insulation And let's use the scenario of the man having 2 jobs, and she puts some money together based upon maybe some independent ventures that she's working on. She says, hey, I want to do this for you, or I want to do this for us. That's not an affront to, his masculinity. That's, a token of appreciation and valuation of your partner. When you making it as a male, when you make it incumbent on woman, you got to do this, I think that's where it's problematic. So, a woman doing something like that, that's just a nice gesture. One additional point, when we talked about.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just want to throw this in for you. I'm talking about dating. We're not in a relationship yet. This is strictly dating.
Put it more in context of a scenario.
So I asked
you, first date, is this like, hey,
it's any date. Maybe I met you and I've come up to you and I've said, you know what, I'd really like to get to know you. If you're free this weekend, here's my number. Let me know if we can link up. Or
you should never see a woman's money. Never.
Somebody thank you right now. Mute yourself.
Can you hear me okay, Jay?
Yes, now. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like I was raised, you should never see a woman's money, ever.
You
should never see a woman's money. Don't get me wrong. If she wants to stop by like Starbucks and grab some stuff and she brings what she's bought with her money over, that's fine. But if you should never see a woman's money. That's the way I believe it. Like right now, my wife was a stay-at-home mother for 10 years, and then she had an opportunity to get into somebody's business. And like we took a trip to Mexico. She planned this trip to Mexico. I didn't see her paying the stuff. What's called after she was just like, "Hey, I'm taking the family to Mexico." I'm surprising everybody with a trip to Mexico, but I never saw the money. So it's just like I still have that mentality, and that's kind of how I'm gonna raise my sons. You don't ever want to see a woman's money. You like it. You can take if she brings you something with that money or does something nice for you, the money. Great, be appreciative and stuff like that. But if you out and about and she pulls out money or a credit card, you're doing wrong.
Well, can I just add to the fact that, to the topic, right? Men hating on men that can treat a particular type of woman or a woman that they desire better, or they feel that, oh, you're doing such and such. I'm asking on the reverse side, as a woman who I don't have those, what's the word I'm looking for? Those inhibitions, right? Where I don't have a problem with stating the fact that I'm interested in you and would like to take you out. That's where I'm trying to get. I understand you're married, but if you're dating, if you're out and about and a woman walks up to you and invites you out or says, listen, I'm going to fly you out to Bora Bora. What you doing this weekend? Where do men look? How do men look at that?
Maybe she'd have to be like Oprah or somebody like
Let me see.
Rich.
Let me get in there. With that being said, I wouldn't stop a woman of that nature from doing that, because it seems to me like that woman would be a natural giver, and that's something that's within her makeup. That's something that brings her pleasure. So I wouldn't stop that woman from doing that if she wanted to do that, if she felt like that was something that made her, feel good about the relationship and made her feel good as a giver and a pleaser. Then yeah, I would be all down and accept that. Now it comes to a point where, I wouldn't be like, you gotta give me this, you gotta do that, you gotta do this. But if I see that it's part of her, like if she offers something and you like, nah, I'm good, and she continues to offer, and that means that this is something that she wants to do. So yeah, I wouldn't stop her from doing that.
So I wanted to address this comment here, the 50-50 in the beginning, to know she's on the right track. I think it's bullshit. I think it's insecurity. I think a lot of people don't like this word, but the alpha male is not going to play games with a woman. He's going to go in there knowing she wants him and him only. And he can afford to be there mentally, physically, financially. I don't know. I hate these little games. Like in the beginning, I'm gonna do this. No different than women holding out. Like I'm gonna hold out 1, 2, 3 months exactly to know if, you know, he really likes me. I think people that go into relationships or dating like this aren't mature enough to be dating, to be honest. Like if you're gonna start dating with games, whether it's
I agree. Yes, exactly.
or
And I
extreme.
also think too, like, I think that it's insane. It's crazy to hate on someone else for doing something that you have no involvement with.
I was gonna say,
Why would I care what somebody gives the next woman? Because for one, it's not coming from my bank account, and
right.
for two, on the reverse end, the pussy is not going to be wetting my dick. So what would I worry about that for? That's insane to me.
Wow, I don't know what that means. That's crazy. Wow.
That's
No, I'm just
insane to me.
kidding.
So romantic, this bunch. Yeah, but I was gonna touch on that, World Kings. I was like, I don't understand the levels. I understand commenting. We comment on everything we see, but the levels of vitriol, what they call people like, you know, Vanessa Bryant at one time, and you know, Dr. Dre's ex-wife, or man, you know, it's like, yeah, that bitch needs to get a charge. That bitch, and I'm like, is it your money? You're yelling at the screen like it's your money. It's quite bizarre. You know, a woman that they didn't spend time with. And a lot of these men have children with these women. They were their wives for 10, 15, 20 years. Fuck that bitch.
That don't count. Doesn't count. It's about the money. That's it. It's the money. And that's what I said. If you lead with your dick in your wallet, but what's funny is that they don't blame the men who set this up. We didn't set this up. Women did not set this up. Like the whole, you need to have this, this, and this. This was men telling other men. And of course, to your point, Jen, you know, they want to go back in a time in the 1950s and 60s. Well, let's be completely honest. Can you, with your income, 2022, take care of a home, 2 cars, kids, and a wife or husband, however, a wife, and then take on the pressures of being in charge of everyone? That is a lot. Not
the men of today, because the men of today, if you
right.
media, they're crying in their car.
Yes. Oh gosh.
I can't take this. No,
it's scary out here. Yeah, I stopped. I had to stop dating. It got real crazy. Like for real. And I was like, wow, where'd the men go?
Online, like men are crying, saying, I can't take this. No, like not the men. Everybody's conditioned to be soft. It's okay that you can. Are you depressed? Are you someone loving you?
And of course, those things matter. But I think a lot of times, yeah, people use it as a scapegoat because you don't want to do that introspection. Because I mean, when you're by yourself, who are you? Are you calm in your brain? Are you calm in your soul? Do you feel like you're doing your purpose in life? Do you love yourself or care enough to be the best version of you? Mm-hmm. Hell no. You want to call us names and vitriol and be nasty and mean because, yeah, you want us to be robotic. So you want the Stepford Wives? Well, guess what? They built that neighborhood.
They should.
And I'm done.
And they built those robots. So I mean, that was the other factor.
Exactly. Build something, sir.
But I would say in relationship to that dynamic, you know, a lot of times we're just not in touch with ourselves, and as men and as males, you know, there's a key aspect of really, you know, as the minister said, carry your own weight. You can't always go in and just with your heart all on your sleeve and be crying about the boss and he ain't doing this for you and and he's giving you some hard time. I mean, it's like, look, this is what you got to deal with to be able to provide for your family. And these are the things you have to deal with, and they're tools to aid you in that process. But you know, a lot of times now, because you know we are not we do not utilize the tools that exist out there to stabilize ourselves, and we don't really understand or know ourselves, is why you have the types of men that you have. I won't blame it on single parentage because I know a lot of single parents have raised some really stellar human beings. So that's an excuse. I think that if we look for the resources and we really work towards establishing a real society, you'll see the true vision of men coming back, and it won't be in the manner that is created by the weirdo spear.
Dude, that is so far long gone. It ain't coming back, bro.
You know what?
I'm sorry.
That's just not happening,
You
bro.
doomsday
Not here.
Mary this whole thing.
No.
Not here, bro.
there's a
It ain't coming
possibility
back,
for
bro.
everything.
It's not happening.
It's
Things
not
are-
happening.
You know what I did just to see? I went to one of those manosphere panels, right? I just wanted to know. And I asked the question, I said, do you guys value intimacy? Do you even know what that means? Or if men are having it so hard, then why don't you guys collectively come together and offer free therapy? Why don't you create
We'll pull each other over
opportunities?
a dice game.
No. What? Okay.
I'm not going back to the truck. We are
I'm
not-
leaving. I believe that there, but I asked those questions because I wanted to know, like, what is it that you want? I hear men talk about all the time what they don't want. But if you ask a man, what do you want in a mate? What do you want in a woman? If that's you heterosexual, blah, blah, blah. What do you want? Tell me.
You just
And the
said-
majority
Hold on. You just said that you asked the men what do they want, and they told you what they don't want. Don't you get it? They're telling you what they want by saying what they don't want.
that makes no sense though.
Yes,
It's
it
like
does.
being,
If I
but
tell
it's
you,
like
listen, if I tell
hold
you
on, wait a
that
minute,
what I
hold-
don't want is a
I got
goddamn
you,
nose
sir.
ring and tattoos.
Listen, but
if I
what does
tell
that
you I
mean?
don't
Do
want
you
a
like
nose ring-
funny women, sir?
If I tell
Do you like a
that I
woman with a
don't
good
want
sense of
a
humor?
nose ring, okay. If I tell you I
We're
don't
not-
want a nose ring, tattoos, fake
But
hair,
that's the
if I
problem.
tell you that, then that's like
Why?
me telling you.
But that's not what they're saying, though. That's not
That
what
is
they're
what they're
saying.
saying.
That's
How many
not
Hold
what
on.
they're
Can
saying.
I
Let-
can I
check this out.
finish my
panels
point?
you've
I
been on? That's
promise.
exactly what they're saying.
What I'm
she's talking
asking-
about, the people that she's talking about,
Yes.
they are robotic.
There are
they
not
They are an echo
right.
chamber. They're only
There are
saying
very
talking
few
points.
men
They say they
over
want
and over
somebody
again.
fit, feminine, and
Yes,
friendly.
that's
They are a
it.
robotic
Thank you.
echo chamber. This is what I'm saying.
That's not.
So
There's
even if
nothing
some people are
robotic
involved,
about that. The men are demanding something that they see.
Hold
other
on,
men
but I want to
getting,
ask you a
and,
question.
and the other men don't have to work for it. No,
May I
that's
ask
not
you a
robotic.
question? May I ask you a question?
Yes.
Do you said you guys go out of town, and you go and have a good out of town. You have trips and go out of town.
No. We go to the other side of the world.
What is that?
That
background noise.
Somebody's got to mute up because somebody's got an Obama phone.
Can everybody mute? There's like a whole bunch of background shit.
Yeah,
going
somebody's
on.
got
I think
Obama
it's chocolates, Mike.
Oh, is it me? I'm sorry. Let me switch headphones then. My bad. I'll be back.
Yeah. Get off that Obama
I wanted
phone.
to say that I understand what you.
What you worried about my Obama phone for? Don't worry about it.
It was free. Come on.
Can somebody get me an Obama phone? I wanted to say that men who, first of all, let's get it clear, right? A lot of people, the majority of people don't do life well. They just don't. Men and women, they don't. It's just that now they have webcams. But we've always lived in a society where there was a bunch of janky people running around in society. It's just now they got webcams and we got to hear them complain about it. So if you hear the echo chamber parroting, I want fit.
Can you guys hear me okay? I'm sorry, Jen. Can you hear me okay?
You sound better. You sound like you're actually in the country now.
So when we hear,
I'm across the world, as you said earlier.
Yes.
when we hear the fit, feminine, and friendly, they don't even know what the fuck that means. They
Yes,
don't know
we
what
do.
they want. No, let me finish, Big Truck. So I'm saying they don't know what the fuck they want. That just sounds good. And here's why I say that, because they are not men who can sustain a fit, feminine, and friendly woman. They are
my
not
God.
that guy. They are not masculine themselves. They do not pay all the bills. In order for a woman to be fit, feminine, friendly all the time, for her to sit in her femininity, like people say, she has to come home, right? Or she has to be home in a home where a man is providing. If I am working to keep us afloat, you can fuck off wanting to come home to me in some sexy lingerie. You can fuck all the way off because I've been working 8 hours, 2 hours traveling. I'm not coming home and putting on a fuck bit of lace. Fuck off. I am your boy now. We are roommates. You are the homie. And every now and then we fucking because we fuck some kids came along. But you are not getting fit, feminine, and friendly if I am helping you pay the bills. That is why I'm saying that they may say, I want fit, feminine, and friendly. Do you qualify to maintain that, sir? Do you qualify to maintain that, sir? And I say the same thing to women. I want a man that's going to provide everything. I ain't paying no bills. Are you qualified to be fit, feminine, and friendly, ma'am? Are you fit, feminine, and friendly, ma'am? Because people want shit they cannot sustain, they cannot maintain, they cannot provide for. It happens on both ends. But you got a bunch of fuglies with webcam. I need fit, feminine, and friendly. Guts out to here. You know the list. I'm not going to go over the list. But they don't know what they want because if they had that, they couldn't maintain it. Let's say they meet fit, feminine, and friendly. Can you help me pay half bills? I don't work out, but can you suck my dick anyway? I'll lift my stomach up so you can see my dick. Like,
Jen, the fit feminine and friendly thing. The fit feminine and friendly thing was only supposed to apply for high value males. See, what happened was people jumped on that bandwagon and they acting like all of them are high value males. See, when Kevin was talking to those women, he was telling them that high value males want fit, feminine, friendly women. Now, the average Joe ain't going to get that, and he settles for Big Shirley. So that's been taken way out of context.
And I said the same thing, Big Truck, on her last panel. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I agree with you, but I don't even like he settles for Big Shirley.
They're equally
yoked. They're equally yoked. They are equally yoked.
You know what? The option to settle.
He doesn't settle.
The option for settling to Big Shirley is getting a passport.
If a man is not high value, equally yoked with
no,
Big
Shirley, no. There's no such thing as equally yoked. There's no such thing.
That's his dating pool.
There's no such thing as equally yoked. Those average guys who do make $50,000 to $80,000 a year, they have an option. If they don't want to settle for the regular long talk Sally, what they can do is they can get themselves a passport and they can go get themselves a woman half their age who's
that's
not
ran through and poor and desperate.
No. They're not all ran through. They're not all poor. No.
And desperate for American money. Don't leave that part out.
No. They're not.